Ling Chen stopped in his tracks, then shot downwards. In the next instant, 8 piercingly bright rays of white light shot above his head. One of them barely scraped past Ling Chen's head, and carried with it immense heat. This was light? Ling Chen immediately looked around him. He saw that far away, there were 8 white figures floating in the air. They were evenly spaced away from each other, and surrounded him in the middle, and were all about 100 meters away from him. Seeing how far away they were, Ling Chen frowned. At this distance, even moon flare and moon grief would not be able to affect them. Moreover, from their initial attack, it seemed that they could easily attack from over 10 meters away. From their attack, it seemed that they were high-leveled light mages, and could even be the same grade as those golden god archers from before. It was impossible for him to defeat any of the 8 high-leveled light mages. As such, tangling with them would not be a wise move. The only choice he had was to immediately escape. With Broken Shadow activated, there wasn't anything that could stop him. Just as he was going to activate his second, Broken Shadow, the 8 light mages' bodies flashed with white light, which spread out from the bodies to the ground and to the sky. The intensity of the brightness of Ling Chen's surroundings immediately increased, causing him to feel quite shocked. In that instant, a system announcement sounded in his ears. Ding, you have entered into the incandescent mountain ceiling formation, created by the golden light magisters from the Sunrise City. Your light resistance 30%, and all active skills have been sealed and cannot be used. Ling Chen. This wasn't the first time he had had his skills sealed before. Back when he had first met Leng'Er, his active skills had been sealed by her underworld lock. That feeling had been incredibly uncomfortable. Without his skills, Ling Chen felt as if he was crippled and could only unleash less than half of his power. Ling Chen immediately tried to activate Broken Shadow, then tried to use the Lunar Scourge's skills, but system announcements told him that he had failed each time. He raised his head and found that he was surrounded by a massive sphere of light that was about 100 meters in radius, with the light mages standing at the edges. Light and darkness were opposites, but they had the same sealing ability. Although this sort of effect wasn't as savage and inescapable as Moon Grief, against these 8 golden light magisters, a little player like him had no chance of resisting. Humph, you think just this will be enough to tie me down? Ling Chen coldly harumphed. This was a sealing formation, and as long as he could escape out of this formation, he would be able to use his skills again. Escaping from this formation while being surrounded by 8 golden light magisters would be impossible for other players, but it wasn't too difficult for Ling Chen. He deactivated, spread wings, and his body quickly fell. Before he reached the ground, 8 blinding rays of light shot at him from 8 directions. Ling Chen narrowed his eyes, but did not panic at all. He couldn't observe all of the attacks at once, and the brightness of the formation made it difficult to detect where the attacks were. However, from the aura they gave off, Ling Chen was able to determine the speed and trajectory of the attacks. As soon as he reached the ground, he sprang towards a blind spot. However, at this moment, he felt something strange as a dark light appeared beside him. Surprisingly, Leng'Er had come outside out of her own volition. Ling Chen felt incredibly shocked. He didn't even have time to wonder why Leng'Er had come out as he shouted, "Leng'Er, move!" Leng'Er was immune to physical attacks, but she wasn't immune to magic attacks. This was especially so for light element attacks, which she was extremely weak against. The 8 light attacks were incredibly fast, and as Ling Chen shouted, he already knew it was too late. The place where she stood would soon be hit by 3 light attacks. The moment he turned around, he saw Leng'Er's eyes. Her jet-black eyes were quivering, and her white face was unnaturally pale. No matter if it was her eyes or expression, they all revealed immense fear. Ling Chen suddenly realized why Leng'Er had appeared. It was because he was currently in a world of light. The light element was gathered too densely here, and it was contrary to Leng'Er's darkness element. She must have been incredibly uncomfortable and afraid in the pet space, so she came out. Ling Chen didn't have any time to think. He stopped his body, then leapt backwards, and hugged Leng'Er's small and fragile body as he pressed her against his chest. Chi! 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 A ray of light swept past his leg, and stuck into the ground. However, it didn't damage the ground, and instantly disappeared. As he hunched over, another ray of light barely scraped past his back, but he was unable to dodge the third attack, which landed squarely on his back. The evil god's mask's eyes flashed with a red light, and a roar sounded out as the ray of light was reflected off into the distance. It slammed into the chest of the golden light magister who had unleashed it, and knocked him back by 10 meters or so. Ling Chen quickly ran to the corner of a wall and looked down at the girl in his embrace as he gently asked, "Leng'Er, are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere?" Currently, Leng'Er was shivering like a frightened kitten. She clutched at a doll with one hand as she grasped onto his clothes with the other. She desperately pressed herself against him, as if this would make her feel safer. "Master, so scared. I don't like this place." Scared? Ling Chen had never hugged Leng'Er like this before, and she had never allowed him to come so close to her before. Her body was incredibly soft, and she felt like a doll in his embrace. In the end, Leng'Er was still like a child. When she encountered something she was afraid of, she would show it. Ling Chen lowered his head as he softly said, "Leng'Er, don't be afraid, I'm here. Back then, I promised that I would always protect Leng'Er. If Leng'Er doesn't like it here, we'll leave immediately. If you're still scared, you can continue to hug me." Ling Chen felt Leng'Er press closer against him as she gently replied with a "mm." A flash of danger once again came from 8 directions. Ling Chen raised his head, his eyes becoming icy. He tightened his left arm, and firmly held onto Leng'Er's slim waist as he shot like an arrow towards the north. Although hugging Leng'Er affected how fast he could move and his agility, his judgment and reaction speed enabled him to dodge these attacks from more than 100 meters away. Even bullets had no chance of hitting even a hair on his body. Ling Chen hugged Leng'Er as he ran in a strange and unpredictable manner towards the north. He easily evaded the attacks from the 8 light mages as he ran, and he came closer and closer to the northernmost light mage. The distance between them shrank from 100 meters to 70 meters, then to 50 meters, then 30 meters. Throughout the entire process, the 8 powerful light mages continuously attacked, but not even one of their attacks could hit him, which deeply shocked the light mages. Within their understanding, this was simply impossible. The long-range light attacks suddenly stopped as the 8 light mages started to perform identical hand seals as they recited identical chants. As they did this, the dense light element in the area rapidly gathered in front of Ling Chen. In the next second, an extremely dangerous pressure caused Ling Chen to stop in his tracks. He coldly looked up in front of him. There, a pair of extremely bright wings had appeared. The moment he looked over, the wings of light spread out towards him. "Humph, you think I'd be scared of you?" Ling Chen did not retreat or change directions, but continued to run. Evidently, the light attack this time would cover a large AoE, so it would be impossible for him to dodge. The wings of light fully spread out as the bright light that covered the sky fell towards him like a waterfall. "Leng'Er, don't be afraid and close your eyes, everything's going to be fine." Ling Chen comforted the stiff Leng'Er in his embrace as he stared at the light quickly approaching them. He gave a low shout as he flipped in the air, meeting the light with his back as he wrapped his arms around Leng'Er. The massive wave of light slammed into Ling Chen's back, instantly covering him. Before it could do anything to its target, the evil god's mask let out a furious roar. Immediately the wave of light fled back into the air like a frightened animal. Arg! The wave of light was reflected back to the 8 light mages, and they all cried out in pain, and the looks of shock in their eyes became even deeper. They steadied their bodies and nodded in unison, and disappeared in the white light. At the same time, 10 steps away from Ling Chen's body, 8 rays of light appeared. Ling Chen turned around and coldly gazed at them. They were all elderly people above 60 years old, and all of them wore a white holy robe. The magic staffs in their hands were also of a pure white color. As they appeared, 8 heavy auras locked onto Ling Chen's body. They were standing in the north, south, east, west, as well as southeast, southwest, northeast and northwest, trapping Ling Chen and Leng'Er in between them. Being surrounded by 8 light mages who were all at least LV-80, this was the most shocking and powerful formation Ling Chen had encountered in the Mystic Moon world. He believed that it would be impossible for any other player to force a main city to deploy such forces. Ling Chen gripped his fists together and tried to quickly think of a way to escape. No less than expected from someone who couldn't be taken out by the Golden God archers. Indeed, you're no simple figure. Your power has exceeded all otherworlders. No, you've completely exceeded the limits of otherworlders, or players. Looks like deploying us wasn't a waste. The light mage in the center spoke in a deep voice. To be completely unscathed despite being sealed in their formation and attacked by them, and even reflected their attacks through some strange power, they were completely shocked. Ling Chen smirked as he mocked, "You 8 old men seem to have a high status in the Sunrise City, but you're actually joining together to take down a young person like me. Plus, I'm just a little player, aren't you ashamed?" Hearing Ling Chen's words, the 8 light mages went red. One of them said in a serious tone, "Since you're able to summon large numbers of undead creatures, you have a very powerful darkness energy. There's no one more suitable than us to take you down. However, it's surprising that a player has such a powerful aura of death, even greater than the corpses. No wonder you could summon so many undead creatures in such a short period of time." Ling Chen felt a bit confused, but immediately realized that these old men thought that Leng'Er's aura was his. Leng'Er was currently in her physical form, and these 8 light mages could all see her. But, because she was pressed up against Ling Chen, these 8 light mages couldn't tell that it was actually her aura. Moreover, no one would guess that such a little girl would possess such a thick aura of death, so they concluded it must be coming from Ling Chen. "You summoned large numbers of undead creatures to attack the Sunrise City, and caused mass fear and panic. Your sins are great and unforgivable. We cultivate light energy, and only kill demons. We don't want to kill any humans, and much less do we want to hurt that innocent girl in your arms, so it's best if you surrender now. After receiving your punishment, you'll regain your freedom. Otherwise, we'll have to kill you. There's nowhere for you to run in the East Ocean continent." The light mage in the center shouted. When the light energy became dense enough, it was no longer warm and gentle. At least, what Ling Chen experienced was a sense of suffocation that felt as if there was a mountain weighing down on him. He subconsciously hugged Leng'Er tighter. If even he felt like this would be even worse for Leng'Er, who was very afraid of light. "Leng'Er, don't be afraid, we'll leave here soon, it's okay," Ling Chen comforted Leng'Er with a soft voice as a large pineapple appeared in his right hand. That's right, it was a furious pineapple. With all of his active skills locked, Ling Chen was left with only his passive skills. With his skills and the evil god's mask, he was confident that he could safely escape from this formation while being attacked by 3 light mages. However, he knew that it would be almost impossible to escape from these 8. This pineapple bomb, which could cause AoE stuns, was essentially his only hope. However, he also realized that light energy had the greatest cleansing power, and for these people who had powerful light energy, they would have high resistances against abnormal statuses. In fact, they might even be immune to some abnormal statuses. He simply didn't know whether this furious pineapple would be able to stun them or not. He had to give it his all though. He couldn't afford to die here. To Ling Chen, these 8 light mages were much harder to deal with than the Cherry Blossom God representative. However, that definitely didn't mean they were more powerful than the Cherry Blossom God representative. It would take but a wave of a finger from the Cherry Blossom God representative to utterly wreck them. However, to Ling Chen, a Cherry Blossom God representative and a light mage were essentially the same. To him, they were all undefeatable, while they could all insta-kill him. Moreover, he had no way to resist the CC skills they used. In that sense, the 8 golden light magisters were like 8 cherry blossom god representatives. He could toy around with one, but against 8, he was powerless. Ling Chen gripped the furious pineapple tighter and tighter, and looked for the opportunity to throw it down at his feet. Without him realizing, drops of cold sweat gathered on his forehead and dripped down, and lightly fell onto Leng'Er's tightened face. Leng'Er shuddered, and couldn't help but slightly look up, and she stretched out her hand to touch the drops of sweat on her face. They were very cold, just like her master's current body temperature. She didn't know why, but she slowly put her finger into her mouth. Her sense of taste was quite weak, but she could clearly taste the bitterness of the drop of sweat. She looked up at Ling Chen, who was tightly hugging her. His expression was icy and quite scary, and was quite different to what he usually seemed like to her. His body was incredibly cold, and his heart beat rapidly and chaotically. The arm wrapped around her body was incredibly tense, but he controlled his strength so that she didn't feel uncomfortable. Suddenly, the fear that the formation of light gave her slowly disappeared. She felt a strange feeling in her heart that had been frozen and lonely for countless years. It was a sense of warmth, and a sense of pain. She didn't know why it felt so warm all those years. She had never felt anything before. Ever since her master had given her a pretty doll for the first time, she could feel her heart beating. There wasn't this sort of strange and interesting feeling before, and it had certainly never hurt before. Even when the warring palace skeleton that had accompanied her for many years fell, although she had cried, she had never felt this pain in her heart. Because the warring palace skeleton had no feelings, it never showed any feelings to Leng'Er. However, Ling Chen was different. He was a living person who, in order to increase her favorability towards him, treated her like his own daughter every day. After interacting with each other for such a long time, he unknowingly revived Leng'Er's emotions that had been slumbering for countless years, and the feelings were gathered for her only companion, Ling Chen. These sort of feelings were very singular and simple, and quietly appeared and quietly gathered. They weren't very obvious and she had never expressed them clearly, but these sorts of feelings when they progressed to a certain level, were quite terrifying. She would determine that person to be the other half of her life, or even that their life was more important than hers. When that happened, anyone hurting them would cause her to become furious. At the moment, the pain in her heart was quite faint, and was quite strange. Because of this pain, she felt a bit of hatred. She hated those 8 light mages who forced Ling Chen to such a state. The hatred made her want to kill them and turn them into skeletons. It looks like you're not going to surrender. That's fine, we'll just finish you off then. After you die, you will probably return to the distant forgotten continent. In the future, if you come to any city or town in the East Ocean continent, we'll hunt you down again. Seeing that Ling Chen did not respond, but still looked incredibly tense, the 8 light mages finally lost their patience, and their bodies shone with an even brighter white light. The pressure locked onto Ling Chen's body became many times heavier, and caused Ling Chen to look even more tense. His eyes flashed and prepared to throw the pineapple in his hand onto the ground. It was time to conclude this. Just as he was about to throw the pineapple, the girl in his embrace squirmed and broke free from his embrace. She turned around and faced the light mages who she had been so afraid of. "Don't bully, master." Ling Chen had never heard Leng'Er speak with such a sharp and emotion-filled voice. She had been curled up in his embrace, but seemed to have been stimulated by something and released all of her pent-up emotions. She yelled at them in a furious voice, then raised the doll in her arms that was incredibly precious to her, and threw it towards the light mages. Leng'Er's sudden change caused Ling Chen to be incomparably shocked, and he couldn't react at all. He suddenly saw her throw out her doll, and he stared in surprise. Since he had met Leng'Er, he had found that she was utterly attached, addicted, even, to her dolls. No matter how many he gave her, she would always treat them lovingly and with great care. Normally, she would never let them leave her embrace, and wouldn't even let him touch them. If they became even a bit dirty, she would become upset for a long time. It baffled him why she would throw out her doll. When the doll was about to hit the ground, Ling Chen suddenly realized something. His heart started to beat like crazy, and he almost jumped up. To the 8 light mages, what Leng'Er had done was just a little girl angrily throwing out her toy. They felt what she did was strange, but that was it. As the doll fell to the ground, they looked at each other, wondering what they should do with this girl. None of them knew how close they were to death. The doll landed on the ground, but didn't bounce as they had expected. Instead, it exploded as an incredibly thick, gray stream of energy chaotically whirled, and instantly enveloped the 8 light mages. What? What is this? Arg! The dark energy completely devoured the light formation, and reduced everyone's vision by half. In the darkness, Ling Chen could hear the fearful screams of the old men. He then saw skeletons rise up from where they were, and terrifying, jet-black damage figures exploded forth. -4 830 0004 600 0004 912 5004 720 0004 990 0004 763 2504 589 000. Ding! You have successfully killed LV-90 Golden Light Magister, Hiroshi, SP plus 900. Ding! You have successfully killed LV-88 Golden Light Magister, Fukawa, SP plus 880. Ding! You have successfully killed LV-88 Golden Light Magister, Miyoko, SP plus 880. Ding! Ding! Congratulations, you have leveled up to LV-41, HP plus 20, MP plus 20. Strength plus 5, Agility plus 1, Spirit plus 1. Ding! Your pet, Xiao Hui has leveled up to LV-41, ding! Your pet, Leng'Er has leveled up to LV-41. Just from a single doll from Leng'Er, 7 out of the 8 light mages had instantly died. This was the first time Ling Chen had seen Leng'Er used her most powerful skill, the doll grenade, that required her to sacrifice a doll. The attack dealt no damage, but had a 70% chance of the targets instantly dying. It was because of the doll grenade that the 7 light mages had instantly died. Once the instant death effect triggered, no matter how high their level was, how powerful their grade was or how much HP they had, they would be met with death. The remaining light mage's face was incredibly pale. Although he was still alive, the undead energy that surrounded him was so terrifying that he would be scarred for life. Darkness was afraid of light, but light was also afraid of darkness. Their light attacks could counter darkness, but darkness attacks were what they feared the most. Their light energy gave them high resistance to abnormal statuses, but they could not resist darkness abnormal statuses, which would be even more effective against them. This light mage simply couldn't accept that his 7 companions had all instantly died. His legs trembled as he scampered backwards, then let out a yell of fear. He scrambled away, and turned into a ray of light and disappeared from Ling Chen's vision. A doll grenade had instantly killed 7 light mages and scared away the final one. This ultimate skill that Leng'Er had never used, and had never been willing to use due to the sacrifice, completely shocked Ling Chen. At the same time, he felt quite warm in his heart. His gaze towards Leng'Er became extremely gentle, because at that moment, he realized that Leng'Er was no longer as emotionless as she had been within the eerie castle, and was no longer the semi-spirit girl who only liked dolls. She now held feelings towards him. Perhaps her favorability towards him increasing was evidence of this. Moreover, becoming angry for him and throwing away a doll for him was even more concrete evidence. Leng'Er floated over and came in front of the debris from the doll. She gently picked it up and looked at it silently. Seeing her trembling eyes, Ling Chen's heart ached. He immediately walked over and smiled as he sincerely and warmly said, "Leng'Er, it's okay. Even if this one is destroyed, we still have many new ones. On the first day we were together, I promised that I would give Leng'Er at least one new doll every day, look. This time, Ling Chen took out a gigantic doll that he had been saving. As soon as this doll, which was even bigger than Leng'Er herself, appeared, she was completely attracted to it. Her dark eyes lit up and she spread open her arms, as she wanted to hug this big doll. Ling Chen laughed and gave it to her, and watched as she struggled to hug it as she smiled happily. Ling Chen knew that if it wasn't for Leng'Er, he probably would have died. No matter what, he had to treat her even better in future. Leng'Er, let's go, otherwise those bad guys will be back. Ling Chen took Leng'Er and continued to rush towards the north. At that moment, a system announcement sounded out in his ears. Ding, your pet Leng'Er's favorability towards you +9. Ding, your pet Leng'Er's favorability towards you is now trusting. Her obedience towards you has greatly increased and will take the initiative to help you in battle. Note, 20, closeness, 30, trusting, 40, liking, 50, affectionate, 60, infatuation, 70, take a guess. After leaving the Sunrise City, Ling Chen turned around to coldly look at the direction the Sunrise City was in. He coldly smiled. He knew that from now onwards, he would be unable to enter again. The moment he entered, there would be countless city guards descending to arrest him. Since you're hunting me down like this and even almost killed me, then I won't hold back anymore. Ling Chen's smile became more and more sinister. An idea that he had previously thought of, but discarded out of mercy, now resurfaced in his mind. He took out a spatial orb and crushed it. A white light flashed and he appeared to the west of the Sunrise City. It was the entrance to where the Sunrise City lifeline was. The moment he appeared, he entered the passageway without the guards detecting him. The passageway was incredibly long, and Ling Chen remembered that the first time he had come, he spent nearly 1 hour walking. He grit his teeth and took out another spatial orb. He set the destination as the end of the passageway, where the evil black dragon was. Because of the barrier at the entrance, he couldn't use a spatial orb to directly teleport into there. However, now that he was already inside, he could use spatial orbs to move around inside. A white light flashed and Ling Chen appeared at the end of the passageway. In front of him was the gigantic evil black dragon. Behind it was a large thick pillar, the city lifeline. This time, Ling Chen did not conceal his presence. The instant he appeared, the slumbering evil black dragon woke up and opened its crimson-red eyes, and looked at him with its bloody gaze. However, Ling Chen only gave it the opportunity to open its eyes. Before it could move or make any sound, the lunar scourge had already let out the light of Moon Shadow. Ding! The Libra Orb's effects have been activated. Moon Shadow's cooldown time has been reset. The evil black dragon was fixed in place and was unable to move even an inch. Ling Chen coldly laughed and took out the Twilight Spear and Great Ravager, and quickly walked towards the evil black dragon. When he got close, he jumped high into the air and sent 2 Ling Tian slashes, from the left and right towards it. Bang bang! 2 Ling Tian slashes, heavily crashed onto the evil black dragon's front claws. The frozen evil black dragon's gigantic pupils contracted. The attack was extremely powerful, and added 300% pain. Even if it was a powerful ancient beast, it couldn't endure the pain, but had no way to vent. After attacking, Ling Chen wildly laughed and arrogantly yelled, "You're that evil black dragon? The evil black dragon that acts as a watchdog for us humans? Your elder is free today, so I came to play with you, ha 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 ha." As he wildly laughed, he spread his icy gold wings and floated to the same height as the evil black dragon's head. Yet another 2 strikes smashed onto the evil black dragon's nose. The pain from being hit on its weak nose was far greater than the pain from the previous attack, and caused the bloody light in its eyes to become much greater. Ling Chen raised his weapons and sent another 2 attacks towards its eyes as he activated the second, Moon Shadow. Ding! The Libra Orb's effects have been activated. Moon Shadow's cooldown time has been reset. The Libra Orb's effects was once again activated, and Ling Chen's attacks fell like rain all over the evil black dragon's head. Ling Chen continued to laugh and mock it, ha 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 ha, so it turns out that apart from being big, the evil black watchdog is just a coward. I even hit your face, but you don't even dare to retaliate. Ha ha ha, ancient beast, my ass. You're just a piece of trash. No wonder you're our watchdog, ha ha ha. Trash. Ancient beast? You're a disgrace to ancient beasts. Look at your design. Why are you so ugly? No wonder everyone in the Sunrise City vomits when they even think of you. You actually dare to sleep while guarding the city lifeline. You can't even do your job of being a watchdog properly. You're worse than a dumb dog. Trash. You're an ancient beast, but all you do is stay in this godforsaken place. Don't you agree that you're useless? Your elder hit you, but you don't even dare to retaliate. Fudge, why don't you retaliate? Ha ha ha. The evil black dragon was a true ancient beast, and had mysterious god power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Even in the prehistoric times when there were many demonic beasts, it was unrivaled in the East Ocean continent. It had been defeated by the Moon God clan, and in order to save its life, it agreed to be the guardian beast of the Sunrise City. However, it still held a high position and no one dared to offend it. And neither did anyone dare to attack it. From the day it was born, it had never been treated like this before. Ling Chen's luck had exploded today, with the Libra Orb's effects activating 3 times in a row. Ling Chen released Moon Shadow 4 times, and froze the evil black dragon in place for 20 seconds. During this time, Ling Chen treated it extremely savagely. He continuously attacked its face and mocked it in a way that even a Buddha would be enraged. The evil black dragon was not a Buddha, but an ancient beast. An ancient beast's savageness and ferocity was something it could never get rid of. Having everything explode out after such a long time would be completely terrifying. Only when the 4th, Moon Shadow, was about to expire did Ling Chen stop attacking. He retreated more than 10 meters in a flash and made a derogatory gesture towards the evil black dragon. Hee hee, I've hit you for so long but you haven't retaliated at all, what a coward. Forget it, you're just our Sunrise City's watchdog, so it's only natural you wouldn't have the guts to fight back against your masters. I can't be bothered wasting any more time on you, so I'll be leaving now. In future, if your elder is unhappy, I'll come back to vent on you. After saying that, Ling Chen started to saunter away. The evil black dragon didn't dare to retaliate. In the very first second, it wanted to rip Ling Chen to shreds. However, its body seemed to be completely locked down by something. No matter how much it struggled, it couldn't move at all. The ferocious light from its eyes almost caused its eyes to explode. As Ling Chen spoke, it suddenly discovered that it had regained its freedom. Immediately, a roar was that furious to the extreme sounded out in this underground space. The wave of air that the roar carried with it caused Ling Chen to stumble and almost fall to the ground. The evil black dragon rose up like a large mountain, and a wave of hatred and savageness fell on Ling Chen like a cyclone. Its gigantic body, filled with anger and fury, leapt up, and its claw that was many times larger than Ling Chen glinted with a cold light. It heavily slashed down towards Ling Chen. This was an incredibly powerful attack from an ancient beast, which contained all of its rage. It was enough to split the earth, destroy mountains, and alter the weather. Ling Chen didn't move, and while locked onto by the ancient beast's aura, his body felt much heavier. He wouldn't have been able to dodge even if he wanted to. Boom! The gigantic claw savagely landed on Ling Chen's body and an explosion sounded out. The ground under them was covered with tens of large and small cracks, and the ground shook. Large amounts of dirt fell from above, and Ling Chen's ears were temporarily deafened by the gigantic explosion. The evil god's mask's eyes flashed with a red light and released a roar as the attack that should have landed on Ling Chen's body was reflected. Roar! The evil black dragon had used all of its strength in that attack, and it had been reflected back to itself. Even the evil black dragon couldn't withstand its own attack. Under the power that could open mountains and split the earth, its massive body was blown backwards and slammed into the stone wall at the end of the passageway, which caused the entire space to shake again. The sand and dirt that fell from above once again covered the ground. Ling Chen covered his buzzing ears, and the discomfort he felt almost forced tears out. However, he acted even more arrogantly, ha 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 ha. An ancient beast can only do this much? You're trash even among watchdogs. I feel like my teeth are going to fall out from laughing, ha ha ha. Roar. The roar filled with countless negative emotions caused Ling Chen's internal organs to tremble. The evil black dragon flipped itself up and a blood-red light shot out from its eyes. Its fury had reached the limit. It had never been this angry before. As an ancient beast, the number of beings that could defeat it could be counted on one hand, and it had suffered very few losses in its life. Even when it lost to the Moon God clan back then, it hadn't been this furious. This was because the Moon Goddess's power far surpassed its own, so it was impossible for it to defeat them. As such, it had wholeheartedly acknowledged this loss. Moreover, the Moon Goddesses would never humiliate it like this. How could an ancient beast's pride be trampled on like this? Facing the berserk evil black dragon, Ling Chen flicked his wrist and cast a moon grief, then used broken shadow to rush forwards as he mocked, hee hee, trash, try attacking me again. Never mind, you'll need to catch up to me first. Let me see how fast an ancient beast can run, hee hee, if you can touch even a hair on me, I'll be forced to give you a bit of respect. If you can't even catch up to me, your elder won't even be interested in playing with you anymore, ha 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 ha. Roar. As it let out a roar that could shake the heavens and move the earth, the evil black dragon tried to release yet another destructive strike. However, its body suddenly paused. Under moon grief, it wasn't about to use any skills, and could only angrily roar while its eyes shone with a bloody light as it rushed towards Ling Chen. With its skills sealed, the evil black dragon couldn't even disrupt the space and couldn't make ranged attacks. It could only chase after Ling Chen itself. Although it was an ancient beast, it was impossible for it to catch up to Ling Chen with broken shadow activated. Ling Chen maintained a set distance between the evil black dragon and himself as he continuously ridiculed and mocked it. Hee hee, that's your fastest speed? Your elder's much faster than you. As he spoke, he increased speed. With broken shadow, his movement speed could reach 2380, which was many times faster than the evil black dragon. To him, the evil black dragon was crawling along like a turtle. No matter if he was running forwards, backwards or sideways, he would be able to easily outrun it. Can you be any slower? An ancient beast is only this fast? Even calling you trash would be a compliment to you. Look at how ugly you are. After looking at you for a bit today, I won't be able to eat for at least 3 days. No wonder they threw you in this remote place for hundreds of years to be our watchdog. With your appearance, if you went out, how many girls and children would you scare to death? In the future, be good and stay here, don't go out no matter what. Otherwise, I'll hit you whenever I see you. You hear me? As our watchdog, you need to be obedient. Got it? The evil black dragon was a mighty ancient beast. When had it ever been disgraced like this before? It was so furious that it almost vomited blood. It had forgotten all of its skills and could only roar in utter fury as it madly chased after Ling Chen, and vowed to destroy this human in the cruelest way possible. Moon Grief's effects were about to expire. When the evil black dragon regained its skills, if Ling Chen continued to play around like this, what would be waiting for him was death. Ling Chen unleashed the true speed of broken shadow, and streaked forwards like a lightning bolt and left the evil black dragon in the dust. He disappeared from its vision as he wildly laughed, "Trash, your elder isn't interested in playing around with you anymore, so I'm going to return to the Sunrise City. You go back and continue to be a good watchdog, ha 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 ha. As Ling Chen's voice disappeared, the evil black dragon found that the target it had locked onto with its had also completely disappeared. With how powerful it was, if it calmed down and focused all of its attention into detecting Ling Chen, it was likely it would have found him. However, it was so angry that it felt like exploding, and it was impossible for it to calm down. Moreover, after Ling Chen disappeared, based on what Ling Chen had said before disappearing, it naturally believed that he had returned to the Sunrise City. At this moment, it also felt its power returning. Roar! Its roar was like deafening thunder, and caused this underground space to almost cave in. It raised its gigantic head as its blood-red eyes looked towards the surface. Its gaze was incredibly vicious, as if it wanted to pierce through it. Suddenly, a black light rose from its body. It was even darker than that of darkness energy, and was incredibly dense, like soy sauce. The dark light stayed around the evil black dragon's body for 4 to 5 seconds before it roared and the light condensed, shooting upwards. Boom! Sunrise City's administrative district plaza. The administrative district's plaza was much smaller than the central square, but the number of people traveling through it was not any less. Not only were there usually many players, but also many NPCs walking around. After the skeleton monsters had been exterminated, the situation began to calm down, and the administrative district plaza became lively again. There were countless players here. Some were taking a walk, some were recruiting people for guilds, some were selling things, some were buying things, some came to play, and some came to see if they had the luck to stumble upon a hidden quest. At this moment, without any warning, the ground under their feet began to tremble. The plaza lapsed into silence as everyone thought of something terrifying: earthquake. However, before they could react, the ground at the middle of the plaza burst open and a pillar of dark light that was 20 meters wide shot to the sky and pierced through the crowds, insta-killing all of the players and NPCs nearby. The ground continued to shake and countless screams sounded out in the plaza as players and NPCs ran for their lives. The pillar of dark light disappeared, and a gigantic, dark figure burst out from the ground and heavily landed onto the ground, and released a fearsome roar. Its entire body was black and its gigantic body let out a metallic glint under the light. Its lizard-like mouth had 2 sharp fangs poking out of it, and there was a jet-black, 2-meter-long horn on the top of its head. On its back were 2 black, bat-like wings. It had 2 armored and incredibly sharp claws, and its conical tail behind it was at least 10 meters long. That's right, it was the evil black dragon. It had been right under the administrative district plaza. In its fury and rage, it disregarded its duty, and only wanted to completely crush the human that had humiliated it. It used its incomparably terrifying power to pass through more than 100 meters and appeared in the Sunrise City. A baleful aura encompassed the entire Sunrise City, and even the sky darkened. Ling Chen leaned back and breathed in a breath of cold air. He could clearly remember that from this place to the surface, the distance was at least 100 meters. Which meant that a single attack from the evil black dragon had broken through more than 100 meters of dirt. This was the power of an ancient beast. It was simply terrifying. The rumors said that the power of the mysterious god grade was enough to destroy an entire city. This massive hole left by the evil black dragon told Ling Chen that this rumor was not exaggerated at all. With this sort of power, a single strike could cleave a mountain in 2. If it hit a person, there wouldn't even be powder left. Ling Chen's original plan was to enrage the evil black dragon, then enter into stealth, which would cause the berserk evil black dragon to rush out of here and vent its anger on the Sunrise City. He never thought that after saying the words, Sunrise City, the evil black dragon would have directly blown a hole upwards to the Sunrise City and rushed up. Ling Chen roughly estimated that above this place was a bit to the north of the center of the Sunrise City. Needless to say, the Sunrise City was definitely, A wicked smile appeared on Ling Chen's face, and he quickly ran back towards the inner region of the underground space, where the city lifeline was. Not long after, Ling Chen reached the end. Without the evil black dragon, there was just the large city lifeline standing there. Ling Chen sauntered over as the great Ravager and Twilight Spear simultaneously appeared in his hands, and he looked up at the gigantic city lifeline. If I destroy this city lifeline, the Sunrise City will probably be finished. Calamity of the Black Dragon, catastrophe of the city lifeline, I didn't want to do this. Cherry Blossom God Representative, I wonder if you'll regret the stupid decision of keeping me here after the Sunrise City is destroyed. As he coldly laughed, Ling Chen raised his weapons and heavily smashed them down. Bang! Bang! Two heavy strikes fell on the Sunrise City's city lifeline, and amidst the tremors, the sturdy city lifeline shook as small cracks appeared on it. Although they were only small cracks, Ling Chen was quite satisfied. After all, the city lifeline determined the safety of an entire city, so it had to be incredibly tough. This was especially so for the city lifeline of a main city, and some would even be protected by the Moon God clan's power. Ordinarily, it would be impossible to destroy it. This was even more so with the evil black dragon guarding it. As such, the people within main cities never worried about the city lifelines being destroyed. If Ling Chen didn't have the Scorpio Orb, even if he attacked for 100 years, he wouldn't be able to damage the city lifeline at all. However, with the strong, destruction element given by the Scorpio Orb, the situation was completely different. Even if it was protected by the Moon Goddess's power, the city lifeline would be slowly destroyed by Ling Chen. Ling Chen continuously attacked more than 10 times, and more cracks appeared on the city lifeline. He looked up at the gigantic city lifeline, and estimated, with his speed, it would take him at least 1 hour to destroy the city lifeline. To normal people, destroying a city's city lifeline was simply incomprehensible. However, Ling Chen felt that this was too slow. The longer it took, the more variables there would be. If the evil black dragon went retarded and suddenly came back. Soul Sacrifice. With Soul Sacrifice activated, Ling Chen's attack skyrocketed and he sent a 1,000-kilogram rend from the Great Ravager onto the city lifeline. Boom! A massive shockwave sent the sand and stones on the ground flying, and the thick city lifeline shook. A 1-meter-long crack started to quickly grow. At this moment, the Sunrise City had been thrown into an abyss of suffering. You despicable humans, must all die. The savageness that it had repressed for countless years exploded out, and the current evil black dragon was many times more terrifying than even a demon god. It looked at the humans escaping in fear, as well as the city it had protected for countless years, and it found something to vent its flames of fury on. It spoke human words and a heaven-shaking howl as it mercilessly released its terrifying attack in front of it. Yesterday, it was the Sunrise City's guardian beast. Today, because of the pain and humiliation it had received from Ling Chen, it had become a mad beast that wanted to destroy all humans and the entire Sunrise City. The fearsomeness of an attack from a mysterious god-grade beast was personally experienced by the Sunrise City's residents through fear and death. When the evil black dragon's claws landed on the ground, a horrifying dark light covered the entire administrative district plaza. Amidst the massive explosion sounds, the entire ground of the administrative district plaza was lifted up. All of the people and items in the plaza were thrown into the air, and they screamed as they were turned into fragments. The evil black dragon's furious roars could be heard throughout the entire city. Everyone knew that the evil black dragon was the Sunrise City's guardian beast. There was even a mighty statue of the evil black dragon in the Sunrise City's central square. As such, when everyone saw it, they immediately recognized it to be the evil black dragon. However, it had evidently gone mad, and was wildly attacking everything around it. Immediately, the news of the evil black dragon crazily attacking the Sunrise City spread like wildfire, and countless residents desperately rushed away. The city had fallen into complete chaos. What's going on? It's Lord Black Dragon, it's gone crazy. Utterly crazy. Lord, please escape from here. The Black Dragon is getting closer and closer. If we don't leave soon, it'll be too late. Escape? Bastard. How are we meant to escape? Mobilize everyone possible, and bring out the guardian weapon as well, the lunar soul cannon that the cherry blossom goddess gave us. We have to slow it down no matter what. Slow it down for as long as possible so we can contact the cherry blossom goddess. Heavens, that's Lord Black Dragon. Only the cherry blossom goddess can save us. I hope the mighty cherry blossom goddess will hear our cries for help. Our Roger. Under the city lord's order, the city guards quickly assembled and stood guard in front of the lord's residence. However, every person's lips were pale and their hands and feet felt weak, because they were facing an enemy that they couldn't defeat even in their dreams, the mysterious god-grade evil Black Dragon. Everyone must die, must die. As the ground quaked, the evil Black Dragon's rampage came closer and closer to the city lord's residence. The city lord's residence was the core of a city, and couldn't be allowed to be destroyed no matter what. Otherwise, it would be as if the Sunrise City had become half-crippled. Facing the evil Black Dragon were countless city guards and high-leveled guards. Most of them were silver and gold grade, and some leaders were celestial grade. However, these people were just like a swarm of ants in front of the evil Black Dragon. As it came closer, large numbers of city guards rushed up to attack, some of whom had powerful attacking weapons. However, no matter how dense their attacks were, they were unable to delay the evil Black Dragon by even a single step. Instead, they simply made it even more furious. The evil Black Dragon roared, and its jet-black tail carried a dark light with it as it swung out, and smashed in front of it. Countless city guards that hadn't even approached were caught in the explosion of the berserk energy. The incredibly tough and durable main door and walls of the Lord's residence were annihilated like rotten wood. A single attack from the evil Black Dragon not only destroyed the main door and walls, but everything within a 100-meter radius. All of the structures within that area instantly collapsed into ruins, and countless residents and players that hadn't had time to run away screamed as they died. Boom! As an explosion sounded out, a gigantic white orb of light shot out from the Lord's residence and hit the evil Black Dragon squarely in the chest. Another energy cannonball shot out, and exploded onto the evil Black Dragon's body. This was an attack that came from the Lunar Soul Cannon, and was one of the most powerful attacking weapons that the Cherry Blossom God representative had given to the Sunrise City. A single round was enough to flatten a mountain. The evil Black Dragon was blasted back by the first round by almost 100 meters, and crashed to the ground. Just as it hit the ground, it was once again hit. However, although it was a weapon from the Cherry Blossom God representative, to hope that the evil Black Dragon would be killed by such attacks was simply dreaming. The Lunar Soul Cannon only dealt a trivial amount of damage, but also caused its fury to once again skyrocket. Within the dust that filled the air due to the Lunar Soul Cannon's attack, an earth-shattering howl sounded out. A massive shadow shot into the air, and grew as it rose into the sky. After growing to tens of meters, it heavily fell, and caused everyone in the city to feel as if a massive mountain was falling towards them. Boom! The ground within 10 kilometers trembled violently and countless structures, including the Lord's residence, were lifted high into the air. In that moment, more than half of the light was blocked out, while countless people lost their lives from this horrific attack. This was the might of the mysterious God grade. Humans were so insignificant and powerless in front of this mysterious God-grade beast. Ding! Warning! Warning! One of the East Ocean continent's main cities, the Sunrise City, is currently being attacked by the evil Black Dragon. Please immediately stop it or the Sunrise City will be in danger of destruction. Ding! Warning! Warning! One of the East Ocean continent's main cities, the Sunrise City, is currently being attacked by the evil Black Dragon. Please immediately stop it or the Sunrise City will be in danger of destruction. Ding! Warning! Warning, ding! Warning! Warning, ding! Warning! Warning! The warning in the East Ocean continent continuously sounded out, almost once every 10 seconds. Looking at the scene of annihilation in the center of the city, the Sunrise City's residents ran in despair, and countless players screamed in fear. The Sunrise City was currently the most important city for players, and no one knew what the consequences would be for such an important city being destroyed. After all, they had never heard of a main city being destroyed. However, what they did know was that all of the registered guilds would be disbanded, the countless buildings that the players had spent massive fortunes to buy and build would be destroyed, as well as countless shops and businesses. They didn't dare to continue to think about this. Against the attacks of an ancient beast, if all of the East Ocean continent's experts gathered at the royal city, it was possible they could stop it. However, the Sunrise City simply had no way of contending against it, much less players. Asking the players, whose average level was LV 40, to stop an ancient beast. What a fantastic joke. Underground. The tremors from above and the falling sand and dirt told Ling Chen how intense it was above the ground. Of course, to him, the more intense it was, the better. He had not stopped attacking the city lifeline, and continuously struck it with different patterns. As soon as Soul Sacrifice's cooldown time reset, he would immediately cast it again, and heavily damage the city lifeline. 10 minutes later, the city lifeline was covered with dense cracks, and there was not a single place on it that was unscathed. Under Ling Chen's tireless attacks, cracking sounds could be heard, and it seemed as if it could blow apart at any moment. The Sunrise City's lord's residence had been annihilated by a single big attack from the evil Black Dragon. Under the protection of 2 Heaven's End grade experts, the lord was able to flee and survive. He held a white, crescent moon-shaped object as he continuously spoke and looked at the black figure ferociously rampaging with trembling eyes. Ding! Warning! Warning! One of the East Ocean continent's main cities, the Sunrise City, is currently being attacked by the evil Black Dragon. Please immediately stop it or the Sunrise City will be in danger of destruction. Ding! Warning! Warning! The extremely urgent system announcement savagely knocked on every East Ocean continent resident and player's heart. One of the Heaven's End grade experts protecting the city lord said in a low voice, "Lord. We can't stop Lord Black Dragon at all. We should quickly leave. If we stay here, we'll be doomed to die." Absolutely not. The Sunrise City's lord shook his head. As the city lord, I will live and die together with the Sunrise City. This is the jade pendant given to me by the Cherry Blossom Goddess. The Cherry Blossom Goddess will definitely hear me through the pendant and come to rescue us. Boom! At this moment, a gigantic explosion came out from under his feet. The tremors that it brought were different than the ones caused by the evil Black Dragon. Every person in the city could feel the entire city had been pushed by something from below. A second earlier, underground, Ling Chen with Soul Sacrifice activated, had cast a 1,000-kilogram rend, and blew apart the city lifeline that was riddled with cracks. The city lifeline of the Sunrise City that had existed for thousands of years, had been completely destroyed by Ling Chen in a matter of 20 minutes. Seeing the city lifeline destroyed, Ling Chen laughed in satisfaction. The wonderful satisfaction of destroying a main city's city lifeline was simply indescribable. He couldn't help but laugh heartily, and quickly took out a spatial orb. After the evil Black Dragon shot up to the surface, the underground space was no longer a sealed region, so he could finally teleport outside. A white light flashed and Ling Chen appeared about 5 kilometers to the east of the Sunrise City. He spread his icy gold wings and hovered in the air. A light smile crossed his face as he watched the scene to his west. Dark clouds suddenly covered the sky above the Sunrise City. In just a few seconds, the sunny day had become completely overcast, and the lighting became extremely dim. The people inside the city felt as if the darkened sky was just above their heads, making it difficult for them to breathe. The comfortable air began to become berserk as irregular winds began to blow. They grew wilder and wilder, becoming small tornadoes that grew larger and larger. Under the dark clouds, the temperature fell, while the berserk air created a dry and torrid feeling on one's skin. What's going on? The incredibly strange changes caused the Lord's face to fall. Dark clouds, wind, heat, earthquakes, with the city lifeline, these unnatural elements shouldn't appear within the main city's boundaries. In his intense discomfort, he found that the evil black dragon had stopped roaring and destroying things, as if it had also noticed the changes. Ding! Warning! Warning! The Sunrise City's city lifeline has been destroyed for unknown reasons. An elemental disaster that has been suppressed for thousands of years is about to explode out, and the Sunrise City will become an extremely dangerous place. All people are to immediately leave the Sunrise City. All people are to immediately leave the Sunrise City. Ding! Warning! Warning! Ding! Warning! Warning! The lord of the city's vision darkened, and he fell forwards. The two Heaven End's great experts hurriedly caught him, their own faces pale as well. They simply couldn't believe their ears. The city lifeline had been destroyed? As a resident of the mystic moon world, they knew exactly what those words meant. It meant that an unprecedented elemental disaster would soon come to the Sunrise City. The elemental essence that had been suppressed for thousands of years would burst out, and would be 10 times even more terrifying than the evil black dragon. This meant that the Sunrise City was completely and utterly finished. Human power simply couldn't contain the elemental essence, and anyone who tried would be blown to smithereens. However, how could the city lifeline be destroyed? It was protected by the Moon God clan's power, so it shouldn't be able to be destroyed. Could it be? Could it be the evil black dragon? Perhaps it had destroyed the city lifeline then attacked the city. No one had the time to wonder what had happened. The news that the city lifeline had been destroyed struck them like a bolt of lightning, and they all felt as if they were on the verge of collapse. The city guards who had been defending against the evil black dragon all took anything they could move and madly rushed out of the city. The two Heaven's End grade guards grabbed the lord of the city and quickly rushed out. As for the evil black dragon, it was ignored by everyone. The trembling in the ground grew more and more intense, and the air became hotter and hotter and more berserk. The sky became darker and darker, and the dark clouds grew lower and lower. When two dark clouds touched, a purple ray of light exploded downwards. Crash! The lightning bolt was 1/2 meter thick and struck one of the tallest buildings in the Sunrise City. After the lightning bolt disappeared, all that was left was flattened, charred ground. This first lightning bolt was like the fire that lit up a fuse. In the next instant, countless thick, purple lightning bolts mercilessly shot downwards towards every part of the Sunrise City. From afar, it looked like a massive lightning formation, incredibly beautiful and awe-inspiring. As the lightning raged, a torrential downpour of rain also began. To be precise, it didn't seem like rain, but countless waterfalls descending from the skies. In just 10 or so seconds, the ground was already covered with water. In just a short period of time, the entire city would be completely flooded. The air became berserk to an unfathomable extent, and the wind became as sharp as blades. The furious tornadoes swept around, and left nothing in their wake. The ground also shook to a frightening extent, making the Sunrise City look like a small boat within a massive storm at sea. At the same time, it also felt like a furnace within the city. No matter if it was the wind or the rainwater, all of them could cause burns if anyone came into contact with them. Water, fire, wind, lightning, earth. 5 different types of elements simultaneously went berserk. In just a short period of time, the Sunrise City had fallen into a massive catastrophe. Ding! The Sunrise City storehouse manager has died. The items players have stored at the Sunrise City storehouse have been forever lost and cannot be retrieved. Ding! The Sunrise City 7 class trainers have all died. Before new class trainers are appointed, Japanese players will be unable to carry out their first profession upgrade. Ding! The Sunrise City's item shop, potion shop, equipment shop, tailor shop, amusement park, food plaza, arena, have been destroyed by the elemental storm. Ding! The Sunrise City's residential district has been destroyed. Ding! The Sunrise City's revival point has been destroyed. All players who have set the Sunrise City's revival point as their default revival point will revive at the nearest revival point instead. Ding! Warning! Warning! Immediately leave the Sunrise City. Immediately leave the Sunrise City. One system announcement after another cut into the Japanese players' hearts like knives. Some players were fortunate to have escaped early on, while the players and NPCs who had not been able to escape all died without exception. Natural disasters were something people simply could not fight back against, and this one had been suppressed for thousands of years. No matter if it was the players who had escaped or had revived elsewhere, most of them were dumbly staring towards the Sunrise City, unable to come back to their senses. They felt they were in some sort of ridiculous dream. Countless players who had suffered heavy losses collapsed onto the ground and wailed. None of them could understand what sort of unforgivable sin they had committed to bring this terrifying disaster. First it was Ling Chen, then the evil black dragon. No one had expected a terrifying elemental storm that would destroy the entire Sunrise City. That's right, currently Sunrise City, the most important main city to players of this stage, had all of a sudden been completely destroyed. Even until now, no one had any idea why such a catastrophe had fallen upon the city. In the distance, Ling Chen, who had caused all of this, looked at the Sunrise City with his mouth agape. This was the first time he had seen a city being destroyed. The only phrase that could describe how he was feeling was, "Oh my God. I'm completely gobsmacked. This was simply too terrifying." Ling Chen knew that once the city lifeline was destroyed, an elemental storm would descend upon the Sunrise City. However, he never knew that it would be so crazy and shocking. In just a few moments, an entire main city had almost been devoured. The power of nature wasn't something mere humans were able to understand. At this moment, Ling Chen's gaze suddenly shifted to his right. In the air, he saw a white dot. The white dot had just appeared, and after he focused, he confirmed her identity and he smirked. "Cherry Blossom God Representative, you've finally come. However, it's a pity that you're too late." Cherry Blossom Goddess, it's the Cherry Blossom Goddess. Seeing the celestial figure from afar, the Sunrise City's lord's dimming eyes widened, as if he saw some light within his despair. He excitedly began to shout out, and fell to his knees as he wailed, "Glorious Cherry Blossom Goddess. You've finally come. Please save us, please save the Sunrise City. Please hurry and save the Sunrise City." News that the Cherry Blossom Goddess had arrived traveled like a wild gale. Countless residents and players who had been running for their lives or feeling hopeless prostrated themselves on the ground when they heard the news, sincerely looking at the Cherry Blossom God Representative as they cried out and worshipped her. The sound of wailing filled the land, and everyone around heavily fell to their knees. Some players knelt on the ground and vigorously kowtowed to her, begging her to save the Sunrise City. If the Sunrise City was completely destroyed, the Japanese players would be finished. Even if they could advance to other main cities, they would be left far behind by players from other countries. Once they fell behind, they would forever remain behind. It was possible that Japan's international status would greatly suffer as a result. Looking at this incredibly moving scene, Ling Chen smirked. This girlie who he had groped all over seemed to be quite awe-inspiring. As soon as she had appeared, everyone had kneeled down. If the Japanese players knew what he was currently thinking and the things he had done to her in the past, they would definitely become so furious that they would want to bite off his flesh. The cherry blossom god representative was the god of order of the East Ocean continent, and was their guardian god. She was a true, sovereign god in the hearts of the East Ocean continent's residents. She was like Christ to Christians, Allah to Muslims, and they definitely wouldn't allow him to blaspheme someone they worshipped so greatly. In the East Ocean continent, if someone said something even slightly offensive to the cherry blossom god representative, they would be heavily condemned and criticized, and could even be thrown in jail for committing a crime. The cherry blossom god representative held such a high position within the East Ocean continent's humans' hearts, and was called goddess not because she was powerful, but because of the countless gifts she had bestowed upon the East Ocean continent. If it wasn't for the cherry blossom god representative, the East Ocean continent's human world would not have become united so early. As a result, it would not have held such a high position compared to the other continents, and would not have been as safe and peaceful. Out of all the moon god representatives, there was no one comparable to the cherry blossom god representative. As such, it was perfectly understandable why she would be worshipped like this. Hearing the sounds of worship and wailing from all around her, the cherry blossom god representative deeply frowned. She couldn't help but feel deeply dismayed from what she saw. She never would have thought that a main city lifeline could be destroyed, and she had never detected any signs of it being damaged before. Under the protection of the moon god clan's power, it should have been virtually impossible for it to break by itself. In that case, the only possibility was that it had been destroyed by an external force. The only existences capable of destroying a main city lifeline were those of the mysterious god grade, and the number of mysterious god grade beings in the East Ocean continent could be counted on one hand. The cherry blossom god representative thought to the evil black dragon that had been guarding the city lifeline, and its savage nature. She then recalled the message the lord of the city had sent her, telling her that the evil black dragon had gone mad and was attacking the Sunrise City. The answer was already within her heart. Roar! As the furious roar sounded out, a gigantic black shadow burst out from within the lightning covering the Sunrise City. A black light flashed as it moved kilometers away, right under the cherry blossom god representative. It was the evil black dragon. However, the current evil black dragon was in a sorry state. Its appearance was quite messy and its body was covered with large and small injuries. Although it was a mysterious god-grade beast, it was unable to completely withstand the elemental storm's power, and had received quite a few injuries while escaping out from it. The evil black dragon inhaled and exhaled, and suddenly sensed something. It jerked its head up and saw the cherry blossom god representative coldly staring at it. Immediately, a layer of jet black light covered its body and its tyrannical aura spread quite far away. Evil black dragon. The cherry blossom god representative coldly and angrily spoke. We thought that you had sincerely surrendered and changed your ways, so not only did we pardon your offenses and spare your life, but even allowed you to take on the sacred role of being the Sunrise City's guardian beast and be worshipped by its residents. Who would have thought that your savage nature has not changed, and you even destroyed the city lifeline in a frenzy and attacked residents? You turned the Sunrise City that has existed for more than 1,000 years into a place of ruins. Your sins are unforgivable. The evil black dragon's savage nature was reignited by Ling Chen, and it had greatly increased as it destroyed the city. In actuality, it was just a victim that had been used by Ling Chen. It was a mighty ancient beast, and yet it had been beaten up and humiliated by a mere human. How could it not become enraged? And now, the cherry blossom god representative had accused it of destroying the city lifeline, causing the flames of fury that it had suppressed for countless years to burn even brighter. It opened its blood-red eyes wide as it roared in a hoarse voice, I was the emperor of the Black Dragon clan, and had unparalleled status and power. These years, I've submitted and become a guardian beast for mere humans, I've become a prisoner in a place without any sunlight for countless years, without any dignity. That human spoke correctly, I'm just a watchdog for humans. After all these years, I've had enough. I won't endure this anymore. Today, even if the 3 moon goddesses come down, I'm going to rip them to shreds. The cherry blossom god representative also became furious. You've already committed enough crimes to blot out the sky, and yet you dare to speak so disrespectfully of the moon goddesses. Unforgivable. In just a few short exchanges, the party that had once surrendered and the party it had surrendered to were completely at odds with each other. The evil black dragon completely released the vicious and fierce nature it had suppressed all these years, and attacked the cherry blossom god representative who it had once feared. Its tail drew a large, black arc in the sky as it heavily pounded towards the cherry blossom god representative. Compared to its gigantic body, the cherry blossom god representative seemed small and nimble. Seeing that the evil black dragon's tail was about to hit the cherry blossom god representative, countless residents of the Sunrise City cried out in shock and horror, and some of the city guards' faces paled. They clearly remembered that such a simple strike had induced an explosion that had decimated half of the Lord's residents in an instant. Facing the attack from the tail that was tens of times bigger than her body, the cherry blossom god representative didn't even dodge. Instead, she calmly stretched out her pristine, white right palm towards the tail. An explosion sounded out, and underneath them, a crevice that was nearly 100 meters long opened up on the ground under them. The people who were relatively close were all knocked rolling. High in the sky, the cherry blossom god representative had barely moved at all, while the evil black dragon's massive body had been sent flying like a rubber ball by the gigantic explosion. It was now more than 100 meters away. After staring in shock for a few moments, the spectators let out thunderous cheers, and the gazes that looked at the cherry blossom god representative became tens of times more fervent. In just a single bout, who had the upper hand and lower hand had been determined. The evil black dragon had never been a match for the cherry blossom god representative. If that wasn't the case, it wouldn't have lived so obediently all those years. After being bathed in the elemental storm, its body and power had all suffered a severe toll, making it much more difficult for it to contend against her. Roar! The evil black dragon crawled up on the ground. The black flames that belonged to the Black Dragon clan fiercely burned around its body. They were no longer burning its power, but its life force and spirit. It knew what the consequences of facing off against the cherry blossom god representative were, but after all of those emotions it had repressed for countless millennia were unleashed, it didn't feel any regret or fear. At this moment, it had regained its dignity. Since it knew it was going to die and had accepted death, it released the greatest power available to it. Covered in black flames, it charged towards the cherry blossom god representative. The wild wind and its berserk aura caused the airflow within 10,000 meters to become chaotic as it heavily struck towards the cherry blossom god representative. All beings within 10,000 meters felt as if there was a massive iron board weighing down on their chests. No matter how hard they struggled, they found it difficult to even breathe. Facing the completely berserk evil black dragon, the cherry blossom god representative deeply frowned. She looked at the humans nearby and stretched out a hand towards the evil black dragon while she waved with her other hand. Whoosh! A gust of warm wind quickly swept out. Instantly, all humans within 10,000 meters, including Ling Chen, were lifted up by the irresistible stream of air and quickly taken far away. At the same time, a brilliant white light shone from the cherry blossom god representative's right hand. That brilliant white light was the light that belonged to the moon god clan. Just like that, she met the full force attack from the evil black dragon with a single hand. This action caused Ling Chen's eyes to tremble. The evil black dragon was evidently using all of its strength, and this attack was bought with its life. Even a moon god representative wouldn't be able to handle it easily. And yet, the cherry blossom god representative was using a single hand, which meant that she was using half of her strength to defend, while using the other half to transport all of the humans nearby to safety to save their lives. The explosion from their attacks colliding would cause a massive area of devastation. One simply had to admit that the Cherry Blossom God representative had incredible power, as well as a kind heart. Boom! An earth-shaking, mountain-quaking explosion sounded out. This clash caused the Cherry Blossom God representative to become truly furious. Her body flashed and she instantly appeared above the evil black dragon. She stretched out her white and tender hands and instantly sucked the evil black dragon's gigantic tail over and firmly grasped it in her palm. As her hands and arms moved, the evil black dragon roared as it was swung around. She swung it high into the air, then flung it to the ground. Bang! Moon God representatives possessed terrifying power. Simply flinging the evil black dragon buried its body into the ground, so far that it couldn't even been seen. Immediately, a white light flashed in her palm as the tail of the evil black dragon, which had been buried in the ground, was sucked into her hand. She then swung it around before smashing it into the ground again, once, twice, 3 times. Just like this, in a cyclical manner, the evil black dragon was trampled on by the Cherry Blossom God representative like a rubber ball. It didn't have even a slight chance in retaliating. The residents' and players' cheers became louder and louder. The excitement and passion they displayed was as if they had completely forgotten about the tragedy of the Sunrise City being destroyed. They had suffered from the devastation the evil black dragon had brought, and had personally experienced just how powerful the evil black dragon was. Now, seeing that terrifying evil black dragon suffering a crushing defeat at the Cherry Blossom God representative's hands, their fear was turned into elation and they became countless times more fanatical about the Cherry Blossom God representative. Ling Chen puffed out his cheeks and felt cold air rushing into his teeth. God damn. This girlie was so overpowered. And so violent as well. He had originally believed that they were both mysterious god grade, so even if the evil black dragon was a bit weaker, it shouldn't be at too much of a disadvantage. However, this was simply a one-sided humiliation. No wonder why the evil black dragon had obediently guarded such an isolated place for so long without retaliating. He had toyed around with such a violent girlie, and that girlie definitely hated him hundreds of times more than the evil black dragon. Ling Chen couldn't help but imagine himself in the evil black dragon's place. He watched as the Cherry Blossom God representative swung, smashed, and blasted it. Ling Chen couldn't help but shiver and contract his neck. Anyone who wasn't blind would be able to see that the Cherry Blossom God representative was far more powerful than the evil black dragon. The evil black dragon was a true mysterious god-grade beast, but back then, Chiyu had told him that a moon god representative's power was at the peak of the mysterious god grade and was close to the Saint Destroyer grade. As such, it was natural that she could completely dominate the evil black dragon. Without such power, she wouldn't be qualified to be the moon god representative in charge of maintaining the order of an entire continent. Despite this, a battle between mysterious god-grade beings wouldn't finish in a short period of time. Mysterious god-grade beings all had an incredibly long lifespan, and their life force wouldn't be depleted so quickly. Even a Saint Destroyer being would take a long time to completely destroy a mysterious god-grade being. The ear-splitting explosions continuously sounded out without stopping. After being viciously beaten up by the Cherry Blossom God representative for around 10 minutes, its entire body was covered with injuries. Its originally black and gleaming body was missing countless scales, and its counterattacks were incredibly powerless. The Cherry Blossom God representative easily neutralized its attacks each time, then abused it mercilessly. Evidently, the Cherry Blossom God representative was furious about the Sunrise City being destroyed, which was why she attacked so heavily. It was almost as if she was venting out her anger towards a certain Ling Tian on the evil black dragon. With the evil black dragon's strength, it shouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat. However, it had taken too much damage from the elemental storm, causing it to be able to fight only at half of its strength. Although it had gone completely berserk, it still wasn't a match for the Cherry Blossom God representative. After being trampled on for so long, its flames of fury were gradually put out. It began to struggle less and less, and even began to pitifully cry out. Bang! Yet another world-shaking explosion sounded out, and the evil black dragon, riddled with injuries, heavily crashed onto the ground. The Cherry Blossom God representative raised her hands in the air as a white light shone out from her palms. It quickly grew, and turned into a thin ray of light which flew towards the evil black dragon. It hit it in the chest and passed through its body. Buzz! A white orb of light exploded from the evil black dragon and covered the sky and hid the earth. Even people 10,000 meters away were so blinded by the light that they couldn't even open their eyes, and could only hear the evil black dragon's miserable howls. The Cherry Blossom God representative looked at the evil black dragon painfully howling within the moon god's light without a hint of mercy in her eyes. She was blaming herself for being too merciful that year and sparing the evil black dragon's life, which had resulted in today's catastrophe. Savage beasts were savage beasts, and their nature could never be changed, and they could never become kind beasts. She definitely shouldn't have allowed it to become a guardian beast in charge of protecting a main city. The Cherry Blossom God representative lowered her arms and crossed them in front of her chest. A gigantic white cherry blossom slowly opened behind her, and the instant that cherry blossom opened, the sky was filled with countless dancing petals, which floated towards the evil black dragon. Every single cherry blossom petal was incredibly bright, and from afar, they looked like the stars in the night sky. It was as if the cherry blossom petals were carried by the wind, and they unhurriedly fell towards the same place. There were more and more of them, and they began to form layers that grew thicker and thicker. Unknowingly, a small mountain of cherry blossom petals had gathered under the Cherry Blossom God representative. Although they were petals, the light they emitted made them look like a round half-moon lying on the ground, and the evil black dragon, which had been buried by the half-moon, had ceased its struggles. The cherry blossom behind the Cherry Blossom God representative slowly withered as she lowered her hands. She looked towards the Sunrise City, as if she had forgotten about the evil black dragon. Underneath her, the mountain of cherry blossom petals continued to shine brightly. Ling Chen's expression changed. He remembered that the Cherry Blossom God representative had tried to use this move on him, but before the cherry blossom could completely open up, he had forcefully cut off the skill. Only now did he find out that it wasn't an attack skill, but an incredibly terrifying sealing skill. Even a mysterious god-grade ancient beast was rendered incapable of even making a sound. If he had been caught by it, he would never be able to escape. Thinking to there, Ling Chen felt his whole body erupt into sweat. Thinking back to all the times he had toyed around with her, he realized he was toying with his own life. The people around all cheered loudly, and countless people knelt down to worship her. After all, the root of the Sunrise City's destruction had been completely conquered by the Cherry Blossom God representative. The Cherry Blossom God representative looked at the Sunrise City that was being devoured by the elemental store with a vacant gaze for a long time, and gave a long sigh. She stretched out her hands towards the Sunrise City and closed her eyes as a white moonlight covered her body. In that instant, she completely released the moon god energy inside her without conservation. The pure moon god energy passed through the air, through the elemental storm, through the ground, until it found the completely destroyed city lifeline, and wrapped around the shards. Seeing that speck of white light, none of the people knew what the Cherry Blossom God representative was doing. However, not a single person left, and no one dared to get closer either. They all stared and watched, and believed that the Cherry Blossom God representative wouldn't abandon them. Slowly, they noticed that the thundering from the Sunrise City grew softer, and the frequency of the loud explosions decreased as well. Looking over, they noticed that the curtain of purple lightning had significantly decreased. After a while, the black clouds rolling above the Sunrise City became thinner, and the light became brighter. The rain was no longer as terrifying, and soon decreased to a downpour that they were used to. However, these changes weren't just hallucinations, and they persisted. Every second, the thunder and lightning became less frequent, and the color of the black clouds became lighter and lighter. The raindrops became individually visible, which was noticed by the spectators. At this moment, someone excitedly yelled out. "The city lifeline! Lady Cherry Blossom Goddess is repairing our city lifeline." This shout from the lord of the city sounded like an angelic voice from heaven, causing all of the residents to weep in joy. They heavily knelt towards the cherry blossom god representative, not willing to get up. The city lifeline being restored. Was there any better news that could currently make the people more excited and joyful? Under the elemental storm, the Sunrise City was doomed to destruction. However, if the city lifeline could be restored, even if the Sunrise City was completely devastated, under the protection of the city lifeline, they could rebuild a new Sunrise City. Everyone wept hot tears and gazed towards the Sunrise City. Seeing the elemental storm diminish, they didn't even dare to cheer anymore, for fear of disrupting the cherry blossom god representative. To attempt to restore a main city's city lifeline within a short period of time single-handedly required a heaven-defying amount of power. Only a moon god representative would be able to do such a thing. However, according to the legends that the residents knew, if a city's city lifeline was destroyed, and a moon god representative used their own power to restore it, it would cause their strength to greatly fall. In fact, they would even lose their moon god power for a long period of time. For the duration of this process, they couldn't be disturbed at all. Lightning storms, tornadoes, heat waves, floods and earthquakes, all of them were quickly weakening. Under everyone's expectant and hopeful gazes, the lightning storm became normal lightning that they were familiar with. The tornadoes became normal, invisible winds. The heat waves became bearable, with humid temperature. The floods began to recede as the rain decreased. The earthquakes also became gentle tremors in the ground. The restoration of the city lifeline was almost complete, and had entered into its final stages. Roar! A crazed howl pierced through the air, shocking everyone who was watching the cherry blossom god representative. The half-moon of cherry blossom petals suddenly exploded as a gigantic, black figure rose into the air. The baleful, bloody eyes fixedly stared towards the cherry blossom god representative, whose back was facing it and was only around 10 body lengths away. The evil black dragon's appearance caused all of the Sunrise City's residents to pale and cry out in shock. Currently, the cherry blossom god representative was in the final stages of the city lifeline restoration, and could not be disturbed under any circumstances. Otherwise, she would have worked for nothing. Moreover, for her to single-handedly perform a miraculous deed like restoring the city lifeline, she would have exhausted nearly all of her moon god power. Right now, she could be said to be completely spent. Even if she was not tied down by the restoration of the city lifeline, she would not be a match for the evil black dragon. The evil black dragon's anger and rage could be felt from even 10,000 meters away. As soon as it appeared, it understood the situation the cherry blossom god representative was in. How could it let such an opportunity go? Black flames erupted on its body as it leapt through tens of feet. It concentrated all of the remaining strength it had as it heavily attacked the cherry blossom god representative. The space between them was violently distorted, while the evil black dragon's desperate attack struck air. Only an afterimage of the cherry blossom god representative was left ere he had attacked. The real cherry blossom god representative appeared 100 meters away and maintained her pose. However, despite the situation, she did not stop repairing the Sunrise City's city lifeline. Because she had to divert some energy to teleport, her aura became extremely chaotic and her face became incredibly pale. Under her moon god power, the city lifeline once again began to take shape, and was nearly perfectly repaired. However, the evil black dragon immediately attacked again. It simply wouldn't give up such a rare opportunity. As it let out a heaven-shaking roar, the cherry blossom god representative, whose aura was so chaotic that she couldn't use any of her strength to defend or evade, because once she split her energy, the nearly completed city lifeline would once again fall to pieces. Her choice was to continue to use all of her power to mend the city lifeline and allow her defenseless body to receive a blow from an ancient beast. She was very clear as to the consequences of being hit by mysterious god-grade energy while completely defenseless. However, as a moon god representative, she couldn't abandon her duty, nor could she, for her own safety, give up on repairing the city lifeline. In her heart, the main city's city lifeline was essential for countless residents and players, and was thus more important than herself. Just when she was about to despair, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. The evil black dragon's attack arrived and heavily landed on that person. A loud explosion and a roar sounded out. The figure didn't move, but the evil black dragon was sent bouncing back like a rubber ball into the distance. The Sunrise City's residents' hearts were all in their throats. However, they suddenly saw that the evil black dragon, which was just about to attack the cherry blossom god representative, fly backwards, while a black dot had appeared in front of her. After going silent for a moment, they erupted into cheers. During that moment of life and death, an unexpected savior had appeared, and had blasted the evil black dragon back. How could they not wildly celebrate? It was just that they were too far away, and even though a telescope, they could only see a blurry black dot. No one knew that it was actually a player. Ling Chen. Seeing the cherry blossom god representative in such dire straits, and facing the possibility of death. A Chinese player who had nothing to do with the East Ocean continent, who should have even been glad, and wished that the disaster would have been 10 times as great. However, when he thought of the cherry blossom god representative dying, his heart simply couldn't accept it or allow it. As such, he took out a spatial orb and blocked in front of her with the evil god's mask, saving her life. Seeing the evil black dragon that had been blasted back by him, Ling Chen suddenly came back to his senses and self-mockingly shook his head. Had his heart become soft? Could it be that he had toyed around with her for so long that he had toyed out some emotions? Ling Chen's actions weren't actually so inexplicable. There was only one reason: the cherry blossom god representative was an absolute beauty. As a moon god representative, she possessed beauty far superior to humans. To any normal man, beauty was something that was irresistible, much less the cherry blossom god representative's extraordinary beauty. Even if it wasn't theirs, no one liked to see beautiful things being destroyed. Conversely, if the cherry blossom god representative was so ugly that people wouldn't be able to eat after seeing her, Ling Chen definitely wouldn't have saved her. In fact, he probably would have joined the evil black dragon in killing her. This was why it was said that a woman's greatest asset was her beauty. Just like that, the cherry blossom god representative had escaped a horrific end simply because of her beauty. Looking at Ling Chen's back, the cherry blossom god representative felt astonished and shocked, and simply couldn't believe what was happening. The look in her eyes became complicated. She completely hated Ling Chen, and the hatred would probably still be with her until the end of her life. How could she not recognize the person who had blocked the attack in front of her? She never would have thought that at such a critical moment, the person who saved her would have been the person who had humiliated her so much, the player who she hated the most. Ling Chen somewhat helplessly said, forget it, since I've already helped, I might as well help you to the end, and we'll be even. However, I can only last for about 30 seconds. If you can't restore the city lifeline within 30 seconds, I can only run away. After speaking, Ling Chen didn't even look back as he rushed towards the evil black dragon in the distance. The cherry blossom god representative looked at him in complete shock. Her feelings were extremely complicated. To anyone else, a player facing off against a mysterious god-grade beast for 30 seconds would be a complete joke. However, she knew he could do it. Even she was unable to resist those shocking skills of hers, much less the evil black dragon, which was much weaker than her. However, she simply couldn't understand why he had taken such a risk to save her. He was facing an ancient beast. As soon as Ling Chen appeared, the evil black dragon's pressure shifted from the cherry blossom god representative and locked onto him. This was evidently the human who had attacked him and viciously humiliated it. It would never forget this human. The evil black dragon raised its body up and charged towards Ling Chen as it hoarsely roared, "It's you. It's you. That's right, it's me." Facing this ancient beast, Ling Chen casually laughed, and didn't look scared at all. He looked at the ruined Sunrise City as he smiled, saying, "Little friend Black Dragon, you're probably quite curious who it was who destroyed the city lifeline, right? Hee, it probably feels terrible to be falsely accused, right? Hee ha." The evil black dragon's eyes shot out with a bloody light as it furiously roared, "It was you? Bingo! Congratulations for guessing correctly." Ling Chen laughed even louder. Look at how awe-inspiring the scene of the city lifeline being destroyed was. It was like a sci-fi movie. Ah, whoops, you don't know what a sci-fi movie is. Pretend I didn't say anything. Look at all the residents. Countless of them died or were injured, and the ones who survived are now all homeless and are crying in the wilderness. Look at me, I'm quite happy, right? Ha ha ha, do you know why I'm so happy? Ling Chen didn't speak too quickly or too slowly, but more than half of what he said was rubbish. He only had a single goal, which was to stall for time. The 30 seconds he promised the cherry blossom god representative included this stalling time. Ling Chen gave a completely harmless smile as he continued to speak, "It's because I'm not even from this continent. Even if this continent's sky fell down, it wouldn't concern me at all. In fact, I would be so happy that I'd laugh in my dreams." Even if the evil black dragon was an idiot, it would understand the implications of Ling Chen's words. Its breathing became heavier as its gigantic eyes widened and contracted violently, as if they were going to burst. "You're messing with me? Bingo! Congratulations for guessing correctly again. I'm just a little player from another continent, surely I can't destroy a main city by myself. As such, I thought of you. I got you out to harm those residents while I destroyed the city lifeline. With your exceptional cooperation, this plan was carried out flawlessly." Roar! Ling Chen's words made the evil black dragon feel as if its head was going to explode. It realized that it, the emperor of the Black Dragon clan, had been led by the nose by this human and had become a tool. It had fallen into this desperate situation because it had been unknowingly cooperating with the human that it hated most, and had even taken the blame for everything. Boundless anger caused its reason to instantly disintegrate, and its hatred towards Ling Chen was now thousands, if not tens of thousands, of times greater than towards the cherry blossom god representative. "I'll completely destroy you." The evil black dragon leapt towards him, and its baleful aura made the air extremely heavy. Facing its crazy attack, Ling Chen did not move and received the attack without any hesitation. The evil god's mask released a roar, and the evil black dragon gave a pitiful cry. Ling Chen coldly smiled and activated Moon Grief, after which he also activated Broken Shadow. He didn't even bat an eyelash as he effortlessly dodged the evil black dragon's useless attacks. The evil black dragon's body was simply too big. Even if it normally attacked, it could cover a very large range. Otherwise, with Moon Grief activated, Ling Chen wouldn't even need to use Broken Shadow. The evil black dragon's roars were ear-splitting, and its claws and massive tail swept through air continuously, causing the wind to howl. Ling Chen's body agilely dodged around the black figure, purposely taking it away from the cherry blossom god representative. The evil black dragon was unable to touch him even once, and he would even occasionally find an opportunity to attack. Although it didn't even count as tickling this ancient beast. Under the Libra Orb's effects, Ling Chen continuously activated Moon Grief twice, which tied the evil black dragon down for nearly 20 seconds. When the second Moon Grief was about to expire, and Ling Chen was about to use Moon Shadow, an incredibly weak voice suddenly sounded in his ears, "Quickly, freeze it." This voice came from the Cherry Blossom God representative. The Cherry Blossom God representative had experienced Ling Chen's freezing skill many times, so she knew just how powerful it was. Seeing the evil black dragon's body stop in mid-air, she was able to slightly relax and use the remainder of her strength to shatter the jade orb in her hands. A light shot out and enveloped the evil black dragon's body. The instant moon shadow expired, and transformed into a formation about as big as its body. The formation quickly started to spin, like a terrifying vortex, sucking the evil black dragon's body into it. Lunar Sky Hell Formation. Arg! The evil black dragon gave a final cry before it was sucked into the formation and completely disappeared. The spiraling formation instantly vanished, and just like that, the evil black dragon was gone. There was not even a trace of it left. The Lunar Sky Hell formation was an incredibly powerful transportation channel. Its function was to send a strong target into the completely sealed Lunar Sky Hell, which Ling Chen had also been to. Seeing the evil black dragon disappear and that the Sunrise City's city lifeline was completely restored, the Cherry Blossom God representative was finally able to relax. She swayed in the air, and almost fell down. She had first dueled with the evil black dragon, then expended all of her moon god power in restoring the Sunrise City's city lifeline. She had then spent more power on escaping from the evil black dragon, which had escaped from its bindings, causing her aura to become extremely chaotic. Currently, the Cherry Blossom God representative was completely and utterly spent. This presented an extremely rare opportunity to Ling Chen. He had dreamed of having this opportunity, but he never thought that it would really happen, and so quickly as well. When the Cherry Blossom God representative began to repair the Sunrise City's city lifeline, Ling Chen had already thought up of a plan that caused his heart to race. The Cherry Blossom God representative was completely defenseless. It was only because of Ling Chen that she had escaped this disaster and been able to send the evil black dragon to the Lunar Sky Hell. Otherwise, without Ling Chen fixing it in place, the single-use Lunar Sky Hell formation would not have been able to hit it. As such, she greatly relaxed her defenses against Ling Chen, and neither did she have the strength or willpower to defend against anyone. The dust from this great calamity was finally beginning to settle. Although the Sunrise City had been destroyed, the city lifeline had been repaired, so they could rebuild it within a short period of time. The residents didn't need her help with this. The Heavenly Emperor City would assist them as soon as it received the news. Right now, what she needed to do was return to the Celestial Cherry Valley and recuperate, for a long time. If it was necessary, she would even return to the Moon God Palace. As for Ling Chen, she completely ignored him. Before, she could have used her own power to return to the Celestial Cherry Valley, but now, she had to rely on items. Just as she took out a teleportation item, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her, and she subconsciously looked up. She saw a pair of clear eyes, and a sinister and evil light flashed within them. The Utter Despair Curse was activated. After their eyes met for less than 3 seconds, the Cherry Blossom God representative's beautiful eyes became dim and lifeless. She looked as if she was uninterested in anything in the world, and there was nothing that could make her feel attached to life. How could the Cherry Blossom God representative in her current state resist the Utter Despair Curse? Of course, Ling Chen hadn't waited for this opportunity just to use the Utter Despair Curse on her. After the Utter Despair Curse had activated, his eyes suddenly enlarged as a strange, invisible, light burst forth. The Cherry Blossom God representative's eyes also enlarged as she stared straight back into Ling Chen's eyes. Under the effects of the Utter Despair Curse, she had lost all interest in everything, and didn't want to look at anything. However, she could feel some sort of invisible force dragging her gaze towards his, and she couldn't look away or close her eyes. She had no strength to resist this terrifying and strange feeling, and because of the Utter Despair Curse, she didn't feel like resisting either. Suddenly, she felt her vision blur and her body felt incredibly light, as if her body had lost all of its weight. In front of her eyes was a boundless universe which slowly sucked her in. She helplessly tumbled and turned and floated, until her consciousness became white. When her consciousness scattered, the only things she saw were the pair of eyes, and the owner of the pair of eyes. Ding! Soul-stealing curse has succeeded. Target Snow Cherry's soul now has your mark imprinted on it, and will view you as the most important person in her life and will be absolutely obedient. The soul-stealing curse was one of the Fengchen sect's 3 forbidden curses, and was incredibly shocking. However, as a forbidden curse, it could only be used a limited number of times, and if it failed, there was a heavy price to pay. Ling Chen had crazily chosen to use his first soul-stealing curse on the East Ocean continent's moon god representative. And he had succeeded. After using the curse, Ling Chen felt a bit dizzy, but his joy and excitement was indescribable. The cherry blossom god representative, who still had no idea she had been affected by the curse, closed her beautiful eyes. She lost consciousness and her body drifted downwards. Ling Chen immediately followed and caught her in his arms. He had touched the cherry blossom god representative many times in the past, and had groped almost every part of her body. However, he had never hugged her like this before. Holding a real moon god representative like this in her arms. Out of the billions of players, who would dare to even wish for such a thing? Even Ling Chen felt a bit dazed. A player was holding the moon god representative who was in charge of the order of an entire continent. The difference between their statuses and strength were like the heavens and the earth. Normally, they shouldn't even have met. However, he was currently holding a moon god representative so peacefully in his arms. Moreover, from today onwards, she would follow his every command and his place in her heart would exceed everything else. Commanding a moon god representative. Ling Chen's blood boiled from just this mere thought. With a moon god representative's power, he would be able to dominate anything and anyone wherever he went. Ding! The cherry blossom god representative's moon god power has dissipated, and the East Ocean continent seal has been released. You can now use items to return to the Forgotten Continent. After you die, you will revive in the Forgotten Continent. The system announcement brought some good news. His greatest worry had been dispelled. With the world boundary scroll, he could now return to the Forgotten Continent. At this moment, the cherry blossom god representative in his arms suddenly lit up with a faint white light. It was no longer that white moonlight from before, but a snow-white light. It was as pure and unblemished as snow. Ling Chen watched with his eyes wide and mouth open as, within the white light, the cherry blossom god representative's body shrunk. When the white light disappeared, the beauty in his arm had disappeared. Instead, there was a small, snow-white, sleeping, fox. What? What was going on? Ding! The cherry blossom god representative, Snow Cherry, was the mystic moon world's last nine-tailed snow fox. She possesses the royal blood of the nine-tailed snow fox clan, and was purified by the goddess order, who also gave her moon god power and a human form. Because her moon god power has been completely exhausted, the cherry blossom god representative has turned back to her original form. You can immediately take her as your pet. Ling Chen, the first time he had met the cherry blossom god representative, Xiao Hui's information had told her that she was originally a nine-tailed snow fox, but he didn't pay much attention to that. He only cared that she was the cherry blossom god representative, and what her true form was didn't matter a single bit to him. However, now, he had made a massive risk to use the soul-stealing curse on the cherry blossom god representative, but this moon god representative had turned into a small, snow-white fox. However, taking her as a pet didn't seem too bad. Even if she was a little fox, she was still a real moon god representative. Alright. I'll take her as my pet. Ling Chen immediately replied. Ding! The nine-tailed snow fox, Snow Cherry, has become your pet. Ding! The nine-tailed snow fox's original name is Snow Cherry. Would you like to rename the nine-tailed snow fox? No need, Ling Chen replied. After a brief pause, another system announcement sounded out, "Ding, the nine-tailed snow fox Snow Cherry has attack, support, crowd control and mount abilities. Her attack cannot be determined as the strength of nine-tailed fox's attacks are unpredictable. Attacks may be completely useless, or can create miracles. Support abilities are top class, and can permanently increase her owner's HP and MP, as well as cast many buffs. When she has grown to a certain extent, she can even revive her owner. She has no crowd control skills while in her fox form, but they are incredibly powerful when she is in her human form. Her beauty can cause the heavens to topple and can beguile all beings. A single smile can cause even the most resolute enemies to lose their ability to fight. Her mount abilities are also exceptional. She can cross land, air and waters, and is incredibly agile. She can react quickly to her owner's orders, and can change the size of her body to a certain extent. Please choose a route for your pet to develop in. Hearing this system announcement, Ling Chen thought for a long time. Before today, Ling Chen had obtained 3 pets, but this was the first time he had heard this system announcement. This was because Xiao Hui, Shi Ling and Leng'Er already had predetermined routes. Xiao Hui was a pure support-type pet and didn't have any attack or crowd control abilities. Shi Ling was a pure attack type, and all of her skills and attributes were fire-related. Leng'Er's skills primarily focused on crowd control, but she also had skills that had instant death effects and summoning skills. However, this little fox that he had just obtained could develop as an attack, support, crowd control, or even a mount. Ling Chen didn't lack an attack-type pet. When Shi Ling came back, he believed that just having her would be more than enough. As for support, he was confident that no one could surpass Xiao Hui. Moreover, what could have more powerful crowd control abilities than the Lunar Scourge? What could be more terrifying than Leng'Er's skill that could cause AoE instant death? As for a mount. A mount, indeed, he didn't have a mount-type pet. This whole time, he had been using cloud-stepping maras bought from the mount shop. They simply weren't good enough for his noble status. If he made this fox his mount, when riding her, he would be riding the cherry blossom god representative. Just this alone made his eyes light up and widen in excitement. He couldn't help but give a lascivious laugh as he replied, "Mount. Ding, your pet Snow Cherry's development route has been chosen. The nine-tailed snow fox Snow Cherry has become your mount." At the same time, a clear system announcement sounded out throughout the East Ocean continent. Ding! Japan Region Announcement. The protector of the East Ocean continent's order, the Cherry Blossom God representative, has been subdued by the Forgotten Continent's Ling Chen, and has become his personal mount. Before the new Moon God representative arrives, the East Ocean continent's laws, rules and systems will be inoperative. No one will be able to obtain any EXP, fame, SP, and everyone will lose 20 fame every day. After this system announcement sounded out, the entire East Ocean continent fell into dead silence. A few moments later, countless crazed roars sounded out. The East Ocean continent's residents and players were completely dumbfounded. They all suspected there was something wrong with their ears, and simply couldn't accept that they had just heard. They felt that nothing that had happened today was real. The East Ocean continent's moon god representative, the guardian goddess they had worshipped for countless generations, had become a Chinese player's mount? How was this possible? How was this possible? This was incredibly ridiculous and unbelievable. It was yet another heavy blow to the Japanese players, an unbearable humiliation. The impact that this system announcement brought was tens, if not hundreds, of times greater than all of the other things Ling Chen had done. Their region's moon god representative had become a Chinese player's mount. This sort of news made the East Ocean continent's residents and players' brains to crash and their minds became blank. They wished they could wake up and find out that this was all a dream. After a while, some residents' eyes rolled upwards and fainted on the spot. This happened to quite a few of them. At this moment, an arrogant and familiar voice sounded out from above them. All of the Japanese players instantly recognized Ling Tian's voice. "Japanese friends, I've been in your territory for 2 months and I've had a lot of fun. Before, I decided that I would leave today, but I never thought that I would see the beautiful scene of the Sunrise City being destroyed. I feel that coming to the East Ocean continent was truly the right decision. Moreover, I lacked nothing except a mount, and after seeing how beautiful your cherry blossom goddess was, and how mesmerizingly stunning she is, I decided to take her as my mount. In the future, I'll ride with your goddess below me, and I'm sure you'll all feel just as honored as her. However, us Chinese people have always liked to keep a low profile and don't leave our names after doing good deeds. I simply don't want to see you all prostrating yourselves in worship and thanks, so I've decided to immediately return to the Forgotten Continent. In return for your great hospitality, if you come to our Forgotten Continent, Ling Tian will warmly welcome you all." Ha 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 ha. Every word he spoke cut deeply into their hearts, and every word made them feel their honor was once again trampled upon. They all raised their heads and looked at the hazy black dot in the sky, feeling so humiliated and furious that they wanted to die. Even until now, many people couldn't believe what had happened was real. Ling Chen's voice echoed through the air for a while before it died down. He sent the sleeping fox into the pet space and took out the world boundary scroll. He looked down on the vast East Ocean continent from the air like a majestic emperor and gently shattered the world boundary scroll. His target was a remote place in the wilderness. And thus, he concluded his trip to the East Ocean continent. Now that he had completed his goal, and had received many unexpected gains, Ling Chen had no reason to continue to stay there. He came casually and freely, and left casually and freely. He left the Japanese players with a haze and humiliation that they would never be able to get rid of. Big news. Can you believe it? China's Ling Tian, he made the East Ocean continent's moon god representative his mount. Can you believe it? Can you? Did you hear? China's Ling Tian made the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom god representative his mount. Holy crap. No, you're the idiot. It's true. Right now, this news has spread throughout the entire world. Why the hell would I want to trick you? Why would I try to trick you with something like this? He made the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom goddess his mount? Holy fudgesicles. My heart's failing. Someone tell me this is a joke. Could that Ling Tian be a NPC? No way. There can't be any NPCs more powerful than a moon god representative. Could he be a true god? God damn, I can't take it anymore. Someone tell me this is just a prank. Have I gone crazy or has the entire world gone crazy? The news that Ling Chen had turned the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom god representative into his own mount spread throughout the entire virtual gaming world at a terrifying speed. The content of this news was simply too frightening. It was simply unprecedented. Normal people wouldn't even think of such a thing. Logically, such a thing shouldn't, and couldn't happen. Upon hearing this news, everyone thought it was a joke, and even cursed at the person who told them. However, when the matter was confirmed, everyone was completely dumbfounded. They looked as if they had seen an ant violating an elephant. Forgotten Continent, north of the fairy forest. Xiao Shui, you've come. Li Xiao Shui arrived precisely on time. Normally, after she arrived, she would always first have a look at the progress of the construction of the new city. Today, the first thing she did was grab Yun Meng Xian's arm as a strange light shone in her beautiful eyes. Even her voice seemed extremely pressing. Meng Xian. There's something I need to tell you. I'm sure you won't believe me after I tell you, but I can assure you that it's true. Today, Li Xiao Shui had none of the calm demeanor she usually had, causing Yun Meng Xian to feel quite surprised. She knew what Li Xiao Shui was going to say was definitely shocking, so she gently nodded her head, saying, "As long as Xiao Shui says it, I'll believe it." Li Xiao Shui smiled. Yun Meng Xian wasn't sure if it was because she was too excited or shocked, but her face was quite red. Meng Xian, don't be too surprised to breathe. Ling Tian has left the East Ocean continent and has already returned here. However, this isn't the most important thing. More importantly, when he left the East Ocean continent, he used some method to subdue the cherry blossom god representative to become his mount. A mount that he can ride on. Like everyone who heard this news, although Yun Meng Xian was prepared for something shocking, she was still completely flabbergasted. Her mouth hung open as her eyes became round and wide. Her first thought was that she had misheard Xiao Shui. The cherry blossom goddess was the East Ocean continent's moon god representative, and controlled the order of the entire continent. No matter if it was strength or status, she stood at the apex. Countless beings treated her with the utmost respect, and no one dared to offend her. The gap in strength and status between her and players was like comparing a grain of sand at the bottom of a chasm to a cloud in the sky. For a player, even seeing the cherry blossom god representative was almost impossible. Being able to do such a thing would already fill them with immense pride, and could make them wonder if they were hallucinating, making her one's mount. That was even more unreal than a hallucination. Seeing Yun Meng Xian's reaction, Li Xiao Shui knew that it would be difficult for her to believe such a thing. Even Li Xiao Shui herself only accepted this after 10 or so seconds. Just as she was about to speak, a man's voice came from the distance. Winter of that year waved his right hand as he ran towards them, yelling, "Big news! World-shaking, universally shocking, unprecedented and never to be duplicated, news! Our China's Heaven Rankings #1 player, Ling Tian, made the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom goddess his mount. So goddamn cool. Way too goddamn cool. Boundlessly, lawlessly, cool." As the two women watched, dumbfounded, Winter of that year breathed heavily as he ran over and projected his communication device's screen. "Look. Both of you, look. This is the video of the system announcement from the East Ocean continent. It's definitely real and hasn't been modified. The whole world is going crazy because of this news, and the Japanese players have nearly gone mad." The video showed the scene of the East Ocean continent's residents and players hearing the system announcement that the cherry blossom god representative had become China's Ling Tian's mount. Following that, Ling Tian's wild laughter could be heard. This confirmed for Yun Meng Xian that this was the undeniable truth. "Ling Tian, you're really like a god, there's nothing you can't do. There are so many things that would be thought of as impossible for most people, and they wouldn't even dare to think of such things. However, you were able to do all of them." Within her deep shock, Yun Meng Xian lowered her head and thought to herself. Ling Tian? Did he do something big in the East Ocean continent again? Hearing the name Ling Tian, Yun Feng became excited and put away his weapons. He wiped the sweat off his forehead as he hurriedly asked. This time, something big isn't enough to describe it. It's something gigantic, something that can destroy the heavens in the virtual world. Xiao Qiu Feng saying such a thing with such a dead face gave Yun Feng a big fright. He anxiously asked, what did he do that could be so serious? Could it be, that after staying in the East Ocean continent for so long, he took fancy to a girl and violated her? Come on, Ling Tian's a man. This is normal. Xiao Qiu Feng deeply frowned and he coldly replied, one of the East Ocean continent's main cities, the Sunrise City is completely finished. Completely and utterly finished. There aren't even ruins left. Holy fudge. Yun Feng was so surprised that he jumped up like a spring. The Sunrise City is finished? Ling Tian did it? He destroyed. No, the Sunrise City's destruction was because its guardian beast went mad. For some unknown reason, the guardian beast that had been protecting the city lifeline suddenly went crazy and destroyed the city lifeline that it had been protecting for many years, and then engaged in large-scale destruction in the city. After its city lifeline was destroyed, the Sunrise City experienced a large elemental storm, which completely destroyed it. Xiao Qiufeng replied. Phew, so that's what happened. You almost scared me to death. Yunfeng let out a breath with his hand on his chest. I knew Ling Tian couldn't be so overpowered to destroy a main city by himself. The destruction of the main city isn't the main news. What Ling Tian did was much more shocking. Thinking to the confirmed news that had shaken the entire world, Xiao Qiufeng couldn't control his emotions. God damn. Even a dead person would jump out of their coffin after hearing this news. He calmed himself down as he spoke word by word. Ling Tian turned the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom goddess, the cherry blossom god representative, the controller of the East Ocean continent's order, into his mount. Yunfeng, Xiao Qiufeng, Yunfeng, Xiao Qiufeng. After Xiao Qiufeng spoke, both men fell into silence and looked at each other. Finally, after a while, Yunfeng seriously replied, Ho! Who would have thought that the cold magistrate has learned to tell jokes? Ha ha, so funny, what a funny joke, ha ha ha. Yunfeng laughed incredibly dryly and sounded incredibly fake. Xiao Qiufeng felt as if his muscles were going to cramp and continued to coldly say, in all the years we've known each other, have I ever lied to you? Che! Yunfeng waved his hand, smirking, who knows what you're thinking. However, your joke is way too low grade. Ling Chen was my super idol since 3 years ago, and no one in the world doubts his strength. If you said he single-handedly killed a celestial, no, mysterious god-grade beast, I'd even believe that. But saying that Ling Tian turned a moon god representative into his pet, I'd only believe you if my head was kicked in by a donkey. Xiao Qiufeng gave him an annoyed look and stretched out his wrist, projecting the screen. Have a look for yourself. More than half the players in the world already know about this, and after today, almost every single player will know about this. It isn't an exaggeration to say that this news broke through the heavens. Yunfeng's gaze fell on the screen, and soon, the system announcement sounded out, followed by Ling Tian's voice. Yunfeng's eyes expanded and contracted and his mouth hung wide open. By the time Ling Tian's voice sounded out, his jaw nearly hit the ground. It would probably be possible to stuff an entire pig into his mouth. This is the pet rankings. There's a new mysterious god-grade pet on there, and its owner is Ling Tian. Its name is the nine-tailed snow fox. Within the East Ocean continent's records, it is said that the cherry blossom god representative's true form is a nine-tailed snow fox. A mysterious god-grade pet. Xiao Qiufeng opened up the pet rankings for Yunfeng as he spoke. Honestly, he was very pleased in seeing Yunfeng's reaction. Yunfeng's stiffened gaze looked over to the pet rankings. After staring for more than 10 seconds, he cried out, "Oh my god!" Ling Tian made the East Ocean continent's cherry blossom goddess his pet. And a mount at that. That means from today onwards, he will ride on Japan's goddess every day underneath him. Holy fudge, 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 how did he do it? That's a moon god representative. My goodness. Calm down, calm down. I need to calm down. Yunfeng gripped his head, feeling dizzy from this news that could scare someone to death. He was simply bewildered. Xiao Qiufeng didn't say anything, giving Yunfeng time to accept this news. After he rambled for a while, he suddenly lifted his head up, looking straight at Xiao Qiufeng. His eyes were so full of emotion that Xiao Qiufeng's body stiffened and couldn't help but take 2 steps backwards. Yunfeng loudly exclaimed, "See? See? Now you know what it means to be truly powerful. To be able to make a moon god representative into his pet, who else in the world can do that? Who else?" Xiao Qiufeng was speechless. Seeing how excited Yunfeng was, it was as if he himself had obtained a goddess as a mount. Could Eve do it? No way. Just this alone means that Ling Tian's far superior to Eve, no. He's much, much, much superior. An expert who has far surpassed Eve has been born in my China. And his birth was all because of me. Yun Feng looked up as he cried out emotionally. Xiao Qiu Feng, 3 years ago in Heaven Slaughter, I saw his appearance and eyes. Afterwards, he disappeared and did not appear in the virtual world. 3 years later, I found those eyes again and immediately recognized him. After that, carrying the passion and shock that hadn't disappeared over the 3 years, I went to seek him out. As such, the name Ling Tian resounded throughout the virtual world. A true legend has been born. My decision to grit my teeth and climb up the dark cloud mountain was the wisest decision I've made in my life. Ahaha. Yun Feng spoke louder and became more and more emotional and intoxicated. He suddenly realized how wise and great he was. This Ling Tian had appeared in the virtual world because of him. Looking at the half-crazy Yun Feng, Xiao Qiu Feng's face twitched, and he coldly said, Yun Feng, do you really think Ling Chen taming the cherry blossom goddess was a good thing? This question was able to divert Yun Feng's attention from himself. He smirked, asking, this isn't good? Dominating anything and everything wherever you go with a goddess under you isn't good? He'll become the idol of every man and woman. Anyone can think of these things, Xiao Qiu Feng replied, but like I said, this event can destroy the heavens in the virtual world. Yun Feng, after the International Armistice Convention was signed, was the virtual gaming world just a virtual gaming world anymore? Yun Feng's smile gradually died, and he began to heavily frown. The Isrock disease's pandemic was called nature's punishment to humans for causing so much war and fighting, causing humans not to dare to easily cause battles. As such, the platform for battles was transferred from the real world to the virtual world. Every 4 years, are the international mock battles held just to decide the ranking of countries in the virtual world? No. Those rankings determine the rankings of all countries on an international scale in the real world. When there is irreconcilable conflict between 2 countries in the real world, the solution is to have a battle in the virtual world. As such, the strength of a country in the virtual world has become incredibly important to every country's government. This is why, after the International Armistice Convention was signed, all countries repealed their laws limiting virtual games to players above 14 years of age. Yun Feng remained silent. Xiao Qiu Feng's words were like a bucket of cold water that woke up him from his delirious excitement. Xiao Qiu Feng continued to speak. Ever since Ling Tian appeared in the mystic moon world, he has been keeping a high profile and has displayed his overwhelming power time and time again. He was the first person in the world to leave the novice village, the first person to obtain celestial-grade equipment, and even obtain celestial and Heaven's End-grade pets in the early stages of the game. His power has shocked the entire world's players again and again. This sort of Ling Tian was bound to attract the attention of other countries, especially powerful countries in the West. However, this was limited to only giving him attention, because although he was powerful, he didn't exceed the limits of players. Furthermore, the West had Eve, whose legend had long since sunk into everyone's hearts. No one would believe that Ling Tian could surpass Eve. However, since Ling Tian went to the East Ocean continent, until today when he left, he had humiliated and trampled upon all of Japan. It wasn't just a single player or many players. In other words, just by himself, Ling Tian completely devastated Japan while suffering no losses at all. Just this alone is enough to shake the entire world, causing countless players to put him on the same platform as Eve. And now, he has made the East Ocean continent's moon god representative into his own mount. Even I was so shocked that I forgot about this. After all those countries, who have been watching warily, find out, they'll definitely feel incredibly uneasy. Yun Feng looked up as he tightly frowned. That's right. Xiao Qiu Feng nodded. This is especially so for the country that has always ranked as number 1 in the virtual world. Having become used to being number 1, how could they allow such a large threat to continue to exist? What's very possible is that many countries could ally together to suppress China. And right now, they have a very good reason. Xiao Qiufeng paused momentarily before continuing. Ling Tian stayed in the East Ocean continent for 2 months, but was able to throw it into great chaos. Finally, the Sunrise City was destroyed, causing Japan's economy to recede by 3 years, and this was just a conservative estimate. The Japanese government blamed all of this, including the destruction of the city, on Ling Tian, sparking international outrage. What do you think will happen next? Many countries will start to use this justifiable reason to threaten China, demanding to have Ling Tian handed out or completely banned. If we don't comply, they'll ally together to completely suppress China in the virtual world. And now, Yunfeng suddenly found that the danger Ling Chen was in had expanded from China to half the world. Doubtlessly, the Japanese players hate him to their bones. Moreover, this hatred wasn't just from the Japanese government, but from all Japanese players and a vast majority of all Japanese people. The terrifying power he had displayed in the East Ocean continent had caused him to become a thorn in the minds of many countries' leaders, and some were global superpowers. The Japanese people wanted him to disappear from the world, as did many powerful countries. When international disputes were determined in the virtual world, how could other countries be at ease when Ling Chen, China's weapon of mass destruction, existed? Ling Chen was definitely the first person in China to receive so much attention. In fact, how many people in the world had received so much attention before? As such, Ling Tian was in a precarious situation. As soon as he was found, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, Yunfeng's worry quickly dissipated. He stopped frowning as he suddenly asked, "Big Bro Xiao, apart from Ling Tian's shocking strength, what do you think about his intelligence?" Xiao Qiufeng was slightly surprised and quickly thought back to the things he had done in China, saying, "He's an extremely intelligent person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make the Yan-Huang alliance suffer loss like that again and again, nor would he have been able to throw the East Ocean continent into such chaos. Of course, that's ignoring the time he was extremely reckless and went to seek death. Indeed, then wouldn't Ling Tian be able to realize what he did?" Yunfeng asked. Xiao Qiufeng suddenly raised his eyebrows. Yunfeng continued to speak, "I haven't known Ling Tian for long either, but I'm somewhat familiar with his personality. No matter what he does, he is extremely focused on his goals, and won't do anything that is useless or counterproductive. Crossing the world boundaries at this point is insanely difficult, and yet he still did it. He must have only obtained a method after putting in much effort. In that case, do you really think he went to all that trouble to go to the East Ocean continent just to make trouble for them and show off?" Xiao Qiufeng, Ling Tian's love towards his little sister surpassed everything else. In fact, he viewed Ling Shuai as more important than his own life. I was able to see this from the very first time I met him. You should also know that the only thing capable of making Ling Tian recklessly seek death is Ling Shuai. After that massive event, when Ling Tian returned to the virtual world, he didn't seek revenge on the Yan-Huang alliance, but said farewell to his companions. He said that he was going to find something, and was going to use all of his effort to find it, and didn't want to be disturbed. He even put taking revenge for his precious little sister on hold. Evidently, what he is going to do is incredibly important and he is in a rush to do it. It is incredibly likely that he went to the East Ocean continent to search for something. In that case, he could just look for what he was looking for, and ignore everything else in the East Ocean continent. Why would he be so high profile and do such shocking things again and again? Finally, after destroying the Sunrise City, he took the Cherry Blossom God representative as his mount in front of so many people, and didn't even hide his name in the announcement. He definitely knew how much of a shockwave this would send, and how much trouble it would bring on him and the Chinese government. However, since he did this, and knowing his personality, I have countless reasons to believe He did all of this on purpose. Hearing you say this, it indeed might be so. Xiao Qiufeng gave a sigh as he lowered his head, saying, from this angle, his actions don't just affect himself, but also China's highest political authority, which is the Long family. It seems that Ling Tian hasn't forgotten about taking revenge at all. Indeed, I can't see him letting go of the hatred that pushed him to the verge of death. That's right. A train of thought sped through Yunfeng's mind as he lowered his voice, saying, Ling Tian is using this to create great troubles for the Long family. However, it's a pity that if there's a single person who can't be controlled by the Long family in China, it's Ling Tian. As such, even if the Long family wanted to give in to the international pressure, it simply has no way to give them what they want. If the Long family wanted to deal with Ling Tian, he would have long since stopped existing in this world. If they try to use force, if they want to face the fury of more than 10 countries allied together, or even tens of countries, the only way the Long family can win is by begging Ling Tian. Xiao Qiufeng continued. The two of them looked at each other, and understood what the other person was thinking. Both of them were completely shocked at both Ling Tian's strength as well as cunningness. Nine-tailed snow fox, snow cherry type, mount type pet, level, LV41, grade, mysterious god. Although the cherry blossom god representative had become a small fox, her grade had not been affected. However, even if she wasn't max level before, she should have been at least LV90. It was a pity that a pet's level couldn't exceed their owner's. This was an absolute rule, so after she had become Ling Chen's pet, Snow Cherry's level had dropped to LV41. However, this wasn't important. What was important was that she was Mysterious God grade. Mysterious God. She was almost an apex being in the mystic moon world that all creatures looked up to. The cherry blossom god representative had returned to her true form because she had used up all of her moon god power in restoring the city lifeline and fighting the evil black dragon. As such, she had no way to maintain her human form. Before, Ling Chen knew that since she had become much weaker due to exhausting all of her moon god power, so he had been prepared for her grade to fall. However, unexpectedly, she was still Mysterious God grade. This meant that even without the moon god power, the nine-tailed snow fox was extremely powerful and had a high grade. This was a very unexpected and pleasant surprise for Ling Chen. However, the only pity was that, AI, riding a goddess and riding a fox were completely different. Moreover, he had never heard of riding on a fox before. Furthermore, this little fox was only 3 palm lengths long, and although it was said it could change its size, with a foundation like this, it didn't seem like it could become much bigger. Nine-tailed snow fox, snow cherry type, mount, level, LV41, grade, mysterious god. Her soul is attached to yours and will never betray you or disobey your commands. The descendant of the nine-tailed fox clan, the last nine-tailed snow fox in the mystic moon world. She possesses the noble royal bloodline of the nine-tailed fox clan. She was found by the goddess order, and because she greatly liked her, she brought her back to the moon god clan and used her moon god power to purify her. She then trained her into one of the high-level moon god representatives, becoming the cherry blossom god representative who oversaw the order of the East Ocean continent. She resided at the celestial cherry valley within the East Ocean continent. Because her moon god power has been exhausted, she cannot maintain her human form and return to her true form. Note, because she has expended too much energy, she is currently asleep, and it is unknown when she will wake up. Stats: HP, 51,000, MP, 15,300, Physical attack damage, 5,100, Magic attack damage, 3,060, Physical defense, 2,550, Critical chance, 15%, Pierce chance, 13% Elemental resistances, water, 30%, fire, 30%, wind, 50%, lightning, 50%, earth, 50%, light, 0%, darkness, 0%. Mount abilities: movement speed, 230, after mounting, movement speed plus 100. If the rider's movement speed is less than 230 after mounting, the rider will maintain their own movement speed. Jumping ability, 10, after mounting jumping ability plus 10. Mount stats, agility, extremely high, obedience, completely obedient, comfort, extremely high, passive abilities, 1, can change her size to a certain extent. After gaining 7 tails, she can freely change her shape. 2, can spout invisible wings, and can fly at a maximum of 50 meters high in the air. Flying speed is equivalent to movement speed, and can run on water but cannot swim. 3, while in her beast form, other beasts will not take the initiative to attack her. When she is in her human form, other humans will not take the initiative to attack her. In either form, she draws very little aggro. 4, recovers 5% HP and MP every second. Skills, 100 Afterglow, extreme passive skill, cannot be leveled up. When mounted, she and her rider are immune to all debuffs. 1000 Illusion, special skill, cannot be leveled up. Can be activated when mounted. After activation, creates countless afterimages, completely disrupting enemies' vision and minds. Makes it impossible for enemies to determine one's position, causing them to become bewildered. Costs 90 MP, lasts for a maximum of 5 seconds, cooldown time, 100 seconds. 10,000 Charm, extreme defensive skill, cannot be leveled up. When mounted, she and her rider ignore all pet attacks, including beast pets, spirit pets, humanoid pets, and mounts. Requires at least 3 tails to activate. Illusory Moon, extreme evasive skill, cannot be leveled up. After activation, she and her rider will be covered by a colorless light. The next physical attack will be affected by absolute evasion. After activation, if no damage is taken within 30 seconds, the skill will dissipate. Costs 120 MP, cooldown time, 30 seconds. Requires at least 4 tails to activate. Murdering Soul, extreme attack skill, cannot be leveled up. A soul attack from the 9-tailed snow fox, uses her eyes to release her soul towards a single enemy, causing attributeless damage to the enemy. The damage cannot be evaded, defended against or reduced, and will not have critical chance, but the damage is not fixed. Lowest damage is, physical attack damage plus magic attack damage, x 0.015%, the highest damage is, physical attack damage plus magic attack damage, x 15,000%. Costs 2,200 MP, cooldown time, 3 hours. Requires at least 5 tails to activate. Godly Fox Skytoppling Dance, 9-tailed snow fox exclusive holy skill, can only be used by the royal bloodline and cannot be leveled up. After activation, uses the mysterious 9-tail power to create realistic doppelgangers that are exactly alike her and her rider. The doppelgangers will have the same appearance, stats and skills as the originals, and can be controlled by the original's thoughts. After being killed, the realistic doppelgangers will immediately disappear. If they are not destroyed or recalled, they will never disappear. The realistic doppelganger cannot use items, but items used by the originals can affect all realistic doppelgangers. Costs 2000 X, number of doppelgangers, MP number of doppelgangers that can be summoned at once is equivalent to the number of tails. Maximum is 9, and currently the greatest number of realistic doppelgangers that can be summoned at once, 4, total number of uses remaining, 4 out of 4. From their stats, Xiao Hui was completely skewed towards defense, and had no attack power, while Shi Ling was the opposite. She had incredibly strong magic attack power, but had almost no way to protect herself. Leng'Er's stats leaned towards magic, but weren't as extreme as Xiao Hui and Shi Ling's stats, and her stats were overall more average. However, Snow Cherry could only be described as an all-rounder. Even though she was an all-rounder, that didn't mean all of her stats were low. Conversely, all of her stats were surprisingly good, and at LV41, all of her stats surpassed Ling Chen's. This was because she was a true mysterious god-grade pet. What was also special about her wasn't her stats, but her skills. She had extreme defense, evasion and attack skills. As a mount-type pet, the abilities she had could cause any player's jaw to drop to the ground. If she had a single flaw, it would be that there was no mention of her being able to transform into a human. Why wasn't it there? Could it be that Snow Cherry was just a little fox and couldn't turn back into her appearance as the cherry blossom god representative? Moreover, what did it mean that she could freely change her shape after she had 7 tails? Could it be that she could change her appearance as she wished? If that was the case, that would simply be too terrifying. Although they were the same being, just in different forms, but riding a goddess and riding a fox were completely different. Ling Chen originally harbored some evil thoughts, but he suddenly found he had been thinking too much. At least, that's how things seemed. Although Snow Cherry was a 9-tailed snow fox, Ling Chen picked up her tails and found that she only had 4 furry tails. Moreover, these 4 tails were stuck together perfectly, as if it was just a single large, snow-white tail. Many of Snow Cherry's skills were linked to how many tails she had. Some skills required a certain number of tails to activate, and its strongest ability, Skytoppling Dance, was directly affected by how many tails she had. LV41. For tails, could it be related to her level? Little Master, have you never considered that taking her as your pet would bring great trouble on you? Chi Yu's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Of course, Ling Chen knew what Chi Yu was talking about. A moon god representative had been made a player's mount, and a high-level moon god representative at that. It was impossible for the moon god clan not to react. The most normal course of action would be to completely destroy him, and then to take Snow Cherry back to the moon god clan. The moon god clan was in existence at the apex of the mystic moon world. Apart from the extinct Night Demon clan, no one had dared to go against them. How could they accept such behavior from a little player? Does the Moon God clan have the ability to find any person instantly? Ling Chen asked. Chi Yu lightly laughed, of course not. The mystic moon world is vast, and no one can truly control everything in this world. There are countless secrets in the continents and oceans, and even the Moon God clan can't uncover all of them. Think about it this way, if they could control everything in this world, then all precious objects would have fallen into their hands, and nothing they didn't want to see would be able to happen. Then it's fine, Ling Chen shrugged, Snow Cherry's Moon God power has completely dissipated, so they won't be able to find her through the Moon God power. With the Forgotten Continent being so big, and with so many players it will be like looking for a needle in the sea. What do I have to worry about? Moreover, I'm already a national fugitive in the outside world, and all Japanese people probably want me dead. So what if there's an extra Moon God clan? Since I have the Lunar Scourge, I'm destined to be enemies with the Moon God clan. No matter if they're good or evil, if they come to make trouble for me, wouldn't I have an excuse to retaliate? Hee, I'm not sure if I should say Little Master is too arrogant or too brave, Chi Yu said as she laughed. She didn't believe these were all of his reasons. She felt that Ling Chen seemed to be giving himself some pressure to walk forwards and quickly become stronger. Snow Cherry was in a deep sleep. Ling Chen shook her gently, but she didn't show any signs of waking up. As such, he put her back into the pet space, then took out the communication device which he hadn't used in a long time and opened his voicemail. Every 1 or 2 days, he would check it, afraid that he would miss a message from Shura. However, after going to the East Ocean continent, he had not received any news from Shura in 2 months. When he turned it on, the name Shura appeared in his eyes and he quickly opened the message. Big Brother Ling Tian, congratulations on achieving your goal in the East Ocean continent, as well as some extra benefits. Last time, I didn't listen to Master's warning and forcibly revealed the heaven's secrets. Although I succeeded, I suffered backlash and lost consciousness for 3 days. It was a small tribulation, and luckily Master was there with me, so I'm safe and sound. I only dared to use the Heaven's secret sex power yesterday, and the next time I'll be able to use it is in 2 months. After that, I'll have learned enough to leave Master and comprehend Heaven's secrets by myself. When that time comes, I'll be able to help Big Brother Ling Chen and everyone else more. The information I received this time was a bit strange. I thought about it for a long time, but couldn't understand. However, Big Brother Ling Chen's very smart, so I'm sure you'll be able to understand it. The hint this time is Mystic Moon Peak, One-Line Sky. Mystic Moon Peak. One-Line Sky. The hint this time was a simple 6 words. Ling Chen felt quite confused and couldn't make heads nor tail of it. There's a lot I want to say to Big Brother Ling Chen, but I know Big Brother Ling Chen is very busy. As such, I'll wait until Big Brother Ling Chen has accomplished his goal before I tell you. Also, I'm not sure if Big Brother Ling Chen remembers my. Anyways, I will continue to work hard and inherit Master's power. I'll continue to pray that Big Brother Ling Chen and everyone else can fulfill what they want and be happy forever. Missing Big Brother Ling Chen lots, Shura. Shura had seemed like she wanted to say something, but couldn't say it. Hearing the gap in the middle of the message, Ling Chen felt a bit surprised. Perhaps it was his intuition, or perhaps Shura was too easy to read. Ling Chen was able to guess what she wanted to say. Today's date, November 10, 3100. They were quickly approaching that date. Ling Chen shook his head, casting those thoughts out of his mind as he muttered the 6 words Shura mentioned. Mystic Moon Peak, One-Line Sky. Mystic Moon made him think of this world. Peak. A mountain peak? A mountain peak in the Mystic Moon world? Chiyu, where's the tallest mountain in the Mystic Moon world? What is it called? Ling Chen sighed and asked. Since it was a hint as to where he could find something, it had to be a place. The Mystic Moon Peak made him think of the highest place in the Mystic Moon world, but One-Line Sky. Chiyu thought for a while before replying, if no other mountain peaks have arisen within the 10,000 years I've been gone, the tallest peak in the Mystic Moon world should be within the Forgotten Continent. It's in the Forgotten Continent's northwest area. It's called the Godchild Peak, and is part of the Mystic Moon world's biggest mountain range, the Fairyland Mountain Range. Fairyland Mountain Range. Godchild Peak. Ling Chen repeated the name and committed it to memory. He then took out his map and looked to the northwest region. A large marker helped him quickly find the Fairyland Mountain Range, as well as the Godchild Peak at the middle of it. Godchild Peak, the tallest of the Forgotten Continent's 12 peaks within the Fairyland Mountain Range. It is 12,000 meters above sea level and is the tallest peak in the Mystic Moon world. Legends say it was where the first true god was born, which was why it was given its name since ancient times. The Godchild Peak is snowy all year round, and the temperature is quite cold. The environment is quite desolate, and is not something normal beings can bear. I've climbed the Godchild Peak 70 times in 30 years, but the highest I could go was 9,900 meters above sea level. I couldn't help but marvel at it and accept that mortals simply can't reach the top. Xian Gun's description of the Godchild Peak was filled with wonder and awe. He had challenged it for 30 years, but was still unable to get close to the summit. No wonder he declared that it was a place mortals couldn't hope to reach the top of. If he guessed correctly, this Mystic Moon Peak, One-Line Sky, should be referring to the summit of Godchild Peak. That was definitely the peak of the Mystic Moon world. Apart from the Godchild Peak, where else could it be? From the map, Ling Chen estimated that he was about 3,000 kilometers away from the Fairyland Mountain Range. If he traveled 250 kilometers every day, it would take him 10 or so days. As for climbing the Godchild Peak, because it was so difficult, it was impossible to estimate how long it would take. After all, like the saying, it was as hard as climbing to the sky. Is little master going to the Fairyland mountain range? Chi Yu asked, although she already knew the answer. Of course. I'm going to leave right now. Ling Chen determinedly replied. I knew it, however, in my memory, the Fairyland mountain range has another interesting name. Land of the Fallen Gods. Ling Chen frowned, asking, Land of the Fallen Gods? Where did that name come from? I'm sure no one in the Forgotten Continent knows this name anymore. Even 10,000 years ago, this name was only common within a very small part of the world. I heard that in the ancient times, when there were true gods, a large number of true gods died at the Fairyland mountain range. From then onwards, that place became a cursed place. Legends say that it was a tomb for the true gods, as the true gods, who were originally few in number, fell one by one there. This included the mystic moon's last true god, the progenitor of the moon god clan. Ling Chen. After finishing their training, Winter of that year sat on the ground on the hill. This place was quite high up, and they could see quite far to the north. If there were any players who came near, they would be able to see them immediately. 100 Miles of Ice also came over and silently sat next to him, staring towards the north. In just the blink of an eye, more than a month has passed. Winter of that year rubbed his nose, thoughtlessly saying as he adopted as melancholic tone, and yet, I'm still not allowing myself to leave. Oh, boss, you must want to trample me flat, right? Madman. 100 Miles of Ice coldly replied. Madman? That sounds about right. She's so beautiful, like a celestial goddess. Any man who looks at her would go mad. Winter of that year raised his head and looked at the blue sky as he spaced out. 100 Miles of Ice was speechless. I know that it's just that to me, she'll always just be a celestial beauty, and will only exist in my fantasies. She's an existence I can never get close to or belong to me. Winter of that year's voice died down, one woman, and such a big city. I also saw the fairies and dwarves that have already disappeared from our records. If any of this was spread outside, it would shock all players. She has such a powerful background that even the Lulan Queen, Li Xiao Shui, addresses her as a sister. Ho, we're both people abandoned by fate, and aren't even good enough for a normal girl. How could we obtain a celestial beauty like her? However, just being able to see her every day and give her some peace of mind by standing guard here is enough for me to be satisfied to the point of addiction. Like you said, I must have gone mad. I know you must look down on me for saying such things. 100 Miles of Ice fell silent for a few moments before coldly replying, I won't. Che, your expression is always darker than charcoal, how could I believe you? Winter of that year scowled before closing his eyes and lazily saying, there's nothing I can do. She's simply too bewitching and I can't resist it. If she could really fall for me, I would give 10,000, yes, even if it cost me my remaining 5 years of lifespan, but that's evidently impossible. Winter of that year put his hands behind his head and lay down as he looked up towards the sky, saying, we only have 5 years left to live, we can do a lot in 5 years. After she finishes building her city, we won't have anything to worry about, so we can leave. Otherwise, I simply can't bear to leave. As for where we go, that will be up to you. Even if we return to that place that we escaped from to commit suicide, to find that mad old man to take revenge, I would even frown. Mentioning the mad old man, no matter if it was Winter of that year or 100 Miles of Ice, both couldn't help but feel their bodies stiffen. Doesn't matter, 100 Miles of Ice replied. I knew it. Winter of that year smirked. There was no one who understood this person next to him more than himself. The two of them lapsed into silence. After lying there for a while, despite looking like he fell asleep, Winter of that year's ear twitched and he stood up with a whoosh. He unhappily grumbled, we've got work to do. Let's go welcome them. In the distance, two black dots that almost weren't visible had appeared. They were at least 2 kilometers away. These goddamn abilities that goddamn madman exchanged for tens of years of our lifespan won't even let us sleep soundly. A jade-green longbow appeared in Winter of that year's hands. He complained as he stood up, then suddenly thought of something as he said, "I say, boss, I was always curious as to why you're only 9th of the heaven rankings. If you used your ability, I'm sure you'd be able to get into the top 3 easily. Let's go." 100 miles of ice couldn't be bothered explaining himself. His gaze had already locked onto those two people. During the time they had stood guard here, they had killed 4 waves of people. In order to reach this place, one had to pass through many high-leveled monsters' territories, as well as dangerous regions. Some monster levels were as high as LV-70, so anyone who could make it to her was an expert of experts. Moreover, they were all the type that weren't very focused on leveling, but had a passion for adventuring and expanding the region they were limited to. As such, there weren't many of them. Out of the 4 waves, the biggest wave had 4 people and the smallest was just a single player. None of them had passed by Winter of that year and 100 miles of ice. In other words, if it wasn't for Winter of that year and 100 miles of ice standing guard here, the new city would have been exposed a month ago. China had more than 1 billion players, and with such a large player base, it wasn't surprising that some players would find their way here. By now, the new city was now half completed. The new city's roads and public infrastructure were all in their preliminary phases. 2 months had passed, but the dwarves who had been diligently working every day hadn't felt tired or annoyed. Conversely, they had been extremely passionate and excited. Seeing their new home being built bit by bit, it was as if they were watching their child grow up. They felt incredibly blissful and joyful. Within such an atmosphere, the construction of the new city progressed at a shocking rate. Let alone cutting corners, if anyone even suggested to the dwarves about taking a break, they would fly into a fit of rage. The fairies had been continuously using their purifying nature magic, dispelling the dwarves' fatigue so they could continue to work in their peak condition. Moreover, the 3 delicious meals every day made the dwarves never want to return to their isolation from the rest of the world. Yunmeng Xian and Li Xiaoshui stood together as they walked through the new city's main road. Both of them felt incredibly excited. "Have you thought of a name for the new city? Meng Xian City or Heart's Dream City?" "Both aren't too bad," Li Xiaoshui said as she smiled. However, Yunmeng Xian gently nodded her head, slowly saying 3 words, "Ling Tian City." Li Xiaoshui's body slightly stiffened. When Yunmeng Xian said the name Ling Tian City, she didn't think or hesitate. She had never discussed this with her before, but hearing her say it like this, it didn't seem too likely she could persuade her otherwise. Evidently, she had decided on this name since a long time ago. If she used Meng Xian City or Heart's Dream City, Li Xiaoshui was certain that the instant the city was completed, Yunmeng Xian's name would resound throughout the whole world. Within 3 days, her fame and reputation would exceed the Yun family financial groups, and within half a year, her influence would surpass the Yun family financial groups. In less than a year, she could even rival the Yun family financial group financially. If it was any other city, even if it was constructed by the Yan Huang Alliance, Li Xiaoshui didn't believe such a thing was possible. However, looking at the dwarves and fairies working tirelessly, Li Xiaoshui was extremely clear on just how terrifying influential this city would become when it was completed. And all decision-making power for this city fell on Yunmeng Xian. Despite this, she had decided to call it Ling Tian City. After falling silent for a while, Li Xiaoshui laughed, with a deep meaning behind the laugh. "This name is even better." For half a month, Ling Chen took the safest route on the map and traveled day and night. He had finally arrived at the Fairyland mountain range. If he didn't have Qian Gun's map, it would have taken him at least twice as much time. 2 days ago, the Fairyland mountain range had appeared in Ling Chen's sight. It stretched up into the clouds, and its peak couldn't be seen. It was as if it pierced through the heavens and extended even further. During this period of time, he had spent all of his time on traveling, and didn't spend any time on training. His level was still LV41, and he hadn't changed the equipment he had. After he thought about it, he realized that the activity he spent the most time on in the mystic moon world was probably traveling. It probably took up more than half the time he spent in the virtual world. Looking for the orbs seemed to have become his entire life. Nothing was as important as that. During the period of time he spent traveling, some people felt incredibly uncomfortable, such as the Japanese players. After Ling Chen had left, the Sunrise City had been rebuilt. With the Heavenly Emperor City in the Sunset City's help, the Sunrise City's rebuilding went quite smoothly and quickly. Just as everything seemed fine and everyone was beginning to settle down, the previous day, the skies suddenly darkened. A super ancient beast that was 100 times more terrifying than the evil black dragon had appeared, called the Yamata no Orochi. As such, not only the Sunrise City, but the entire East Ocean continent was once again embroiled in battle. In order to subdue the Yamata no Orochi, it would probably require the 3 moon goddesses to personally take it down. However, it was uncertain if the East Ocean continent's players and residents could last that long. There was also the Long family. Although they had long since made mental preparations, but the pressure from various countries caused Long Zhengyang's head to swell. This entire time, he had been stuck in a state of annoyance. This was because he could neither advance nor retreat. Even if he wanted to retreat, he couldn't even find Ling Tian, and even if he could, punishing Ling Tian would result in the fury of countless Chinese players. The consequences would be unimaginable. If he wanted to advance. In the virtual world, overall, China was ranked number 1 in the world. This was because China had the most players. China had as many players as multiple countries combined. According to the rankings decided by the international mock battles, China was ranked number 5. As such, it was undisputable that China was incredibly powerful in the virtual world. However, no matter how powerful they were, they simply couldn't face off against 20 countries. What's more, within those 20 countries, 8 of them were ranked in the top 10. As such, if they initiated a war, China simply wouldn't be able to contend against its enemies. If they lost, it would be a completely crushing defeat. The only chance they had in winning was if they had the Sword Emperor and Ling Tian. However, these two people, disregarding the Sword Emperor, could the Long family really beg Ling Tian, who they hated to their bones, to help them? Not only that, but currently, Ling Tian didn't care at all about what was happening, even though it was all instigated by him. Looking at the mountain range that extended to the sky in front of him, Ling Chen could feel a headache coming. From the boundary of the Fairyland mountain range to the bottom of the Godchild Peak, the distance was about 30 kilometers. This was not too far, but the problem was that, as the place referred to Bai Chiyu as the land of the fallen gods, how could the monsters here be ordinary? The entire 30 kilometers was covered by monsters that were LV90 and above. With the remnant aura from the true gods from the ancient times, the monsters here all developed incredibly quickly. Their levels were incredibly high, and even Lord bosses and celestial grade bosses weren't too rare. This meant that if Ling Chen ventured within these 30 kilometers, he could be killed by even a fart from any of the monsters inside. Hiding from 1 or 2 of these monsters wouldn't be too difficult, and even 8 to 10 wouldn't be too bad. However, he had to cross 30 kilometers worth of these monsters.